Yo. It's Grapsody with Will, Phil, and Reg, trying to keep it real instead of what you usually get from these talking heads. It's Grapsody, we're here to fill the void. 3 black fans, different perspective, gotta fill your voice. Coming with the podcast, talking majors, indies in between. Yeah, it's all that, and we're down with Fightful, better fall back. Coming for respect, we connect like a ball bat. No need to double check, these are all facts. You're listening to us talk raps. You're listening to us talk raps. Will, Phil, and Reg. Yeah, we're Grapsody, here to talk raps. Yeah, we're Grapsody, here to talk raps.
Connecting like a ball bat. No need to double check, because these are all facts. Right here on Grapsody. Welcome to Grapsody. It is Saturday. It is December 3rd. Happy December.
December.
Yes, this is our first show of December. Hey, we're wrapping up the year. It's our first full year of Grapsody. We will have wrapped up our first full calendar year as we're about to make our way out of December, or out of the year. But until then, got a little bit more to go. Welcome to Grapsody. I'm Will Washington, and I'm not alone here. Philip Lindsey's also here.
I'm here, man. This is how we do it. Happy birthday to one Montell Jordan.
Yes.
Come on, man.
That's not
a
what
legend,
I would have thought about.
a legend at wedding receptions everywhere.
Oh my God! That's a pop-off. It doesn't matter what. It doesn't have to be a black wedding, a white wedding. If it's a wedding,
Fam, I don't care. I don't care where you play. This is how we do it. People are going to get into it.
Yeah.
Man, for whatever reason, white people love This Is How We Do It.
It's the jam.
Let me tell you,
it's a jam.
Yeah, you know our friend T. T is a wedding DJ. One of my favorite stories is that T, he has all his music classified, and he's really good at it. You know, his DJ business. Shout out T. It does really well. He's been doing it 10 years, and it's been a great thing for him. He has a folder titled "Black Music for White People." And and This Is How We Do It is like the jam.
Number one.
That's like the number one.
It's between This How We Do It and Return of the Mac, because Return of the Mac is crazy.
Yeah.
Return of the Mac goes crazy too. Like at any function, like play one of them jams and we about to be on the dance floor. No doubt about it.
Yeah, that's his go-to though. I love that.
That's dope. Shout out to T.
Yeah, I know. He has really figured it out, and his DJ business it's great shit. So
Yeah,
he knows when
here,
he's getting booked. He knows his audience. That's the thing. He knows the audience.
Yeah,
He knows when he looks out.
When you're a wedding DJ, you either learn pretty quickly or you continue to suck forever. That's how I feel like the line is. Either like you know the market or like you've been in here 5 years and you're still with the wrong jams at every wedding.
Nah, that's like the glass breaking, man. That's like the Stone Cold glass breaking. This is how we do it.
That's
No, it's about to pop off, man.
That's the Stone Cold glass breaking. It's hilarious.
You know it's about to pop off, bro. Come on.
Montell's about to come and hit everybody with a stunner with these jams.
No, Montell Jordan.
When I was in Jamaica, that was my karaoke song. I'm like, oh, what karaoke song can I do that I know is going to get people going? And it got the rap part in it, too. I'm like, yeah, it has to be this.
Once a gangbanger in 95.
No, you know what, though?
These bars off.
You know what, though? I do have to say, like, talking about Montell Jordan, the Get It On Tonight, though, is like, when I think about that song lyrically, that is kind of like a fuckboy anthem. Like, when you really think about it, like the track.
That was the time, man. That was the times.
Did not expect you to call it that, but all right.
Yeah.
No, I mean, what he's talking about, I got a girl, but you look good tonight. Is one. And then you watch the video, and his girl in the video is finer than the one he's like hitting on the whole video. And I'm just
That's
like,
real life.
like, what
That
are you
is an
doing?
underrated record, by the way. Like
That's a
I
jam.
think people are so stuck on This Is How We Do It, but that is an underrated record.
That is a
No.
jam.
Nah, I loved Let's Ride. Are you kidding me? That's like the only Silk verse I fuck with. What is it? The anything goes, let's roll. Let me help you take up off your clothes. Give me a preview before and the rest after the show. Like, no, that's That's like the only Silk verse like I truly felt like, and then he still silks it up. Like it's got some good lines, and then because what does he say? He says, "Thug love mixed with cream, Hennessy strawberries and Mo wet," and then he just goes into champagne, drop a bath, drop a little hot tub.
None of it on beat. None of it.
It's like I was like you almost had it, but then you had to silk the shocker it up.
Let me add my little flair to the end of this to make sure they know it's
Nah,
silk.
man, I gotta let y'all know it's me.
We remember.
Yep, and I don't know. I love Montell Jordan. Are you kidding me?
Oh yeah.
Because like he really helped establish Flesh and Bone as a singles artist. I said singles because my brain is stuck in wrestling mode. But as a solo artist is what I meant
When
to
he
say.
left the faction of Bone Thugs and Harmony on his own.
Yeah, I mean,
Because push.
that's exactly how my brain views all of that. Where it's like, yeah, the faction of Bone established, but then Flesh and Bone wanted a singles career, so he started tagging with Montell Jordan for a little bit. But nah, that Falling, that single where he had the was it MC8 sample. But yeah, he when that track dropped, that was the first time that I remember acknowledging like, oh, Flesh and Bone. Okay, so like he doesn't just need Bone Thugs and Harmony. Right. And then he dropped his solo album, which I remember because me and my brother got it that Christmas. His solo album Thugs, which was an acronym for Trues Humbly United Gathering Souls.
90s.
I swear, man. I swear.
Yeah, so I don't know. Anyway, Righteous Reg is here. They're telling you in the chat you need to turn your mic up.
Wait, hold on. They just want me to be hella loud. I see what y'all going on. It's your boy, Media Man, Righteous Reg, your favorite rapper, your favorite writer, your favorite podcaster, the inventor of both these guys that chant. If you didn't know, now you know. The originator, none greater. None of these other guys do it like me. I swear, nobody out here does it like me. I invented the chant that exists in the world. I've heard this shit at WrestleMania, bro. I did that, okay?
Yeah, he posted the video. He shared it to...
I got concrete evidence right here. You can watch and see it with your own eyes, baby. They don't do it like your boy.
Man, they're still saying you're low. Hit the settings, I guess, in StreamYard.
What y'all want from me?
What
do you want from me?
Turn them up in the headphones. Nah, I've been waiting. It took me over a year to do this, to do the Bulls beanie like Jack the Jobber, wrestling podcast legend. Finally here.
Speaking of the Bulls,
man, coughed up that game because it looked like
they got shit at the end.
It looked like the Warriors were close to coughing this thing up. Man.
Right, I know. I was like, yo, it's not looking too good at the end here. What's going on?
I need Zach to work on his shot selection, man. Some of those shots Zach takes, I'm like, dude, at least get about 7 seconds into the shot clock before you just throw one up, man. What are we doing, man?
I hate when the young boys do that. They just get too excited and too anxious. It's like, yo, just let it breathe a little bit.
My indicator that the Warriors are going to win a game is always when it's in crunch time and my man Draymond hits a three. I was like, when he hit that three, I was like, we're losing. I was like, it's over. We're going to lose.
If Draymond's like, I'm taking the three this time, like, you know something is going on.
Yeah, and they went through that stretch where Jordan Poole just wouldn't miss. I was like, yeah, we're losing this game.
Yeah.
See,
the Bulls are pretty tough, though. They fought a good fight, I think.
Yeah. See, I spent my night last night watching the Nuggets and the Hawks, and the Nuggets lost to the Hawks. And my issue here is that was
out too, wasn't he?
Yeah, and so the Nuggets. My issue with this loss is that Denver is so close to number one, and like you just couldn't let it happen, could you? I was spending all day thinking, all right, Suns lost, so now it's just up to Denver to do what they got to do to move out of that number 2 spot and get the number 1 seed. Nope. Lost to the Hawks. And the worst part about that was it was really just the second quarter. Outscored them in the third and the fourth, but that second they just could not make up that deficit. And they got to within 3 what was it? I think there was 3 minutes left in the fourth. They got within 3, and I'm like, they're going to do it because they had come back from like 10 down. You know what the final score of that game was? 109, 117. They called that timeout. And then Denver called the timeout, by the way. And then Atlanta just runs all over them when they come out of the timeout.
They're like, thanks for the timeout, bro. We about to regroup hell over here.
Yeah, I was like, all right, we're within 3. Let's do it. I flipped to SmackDown for a second, and then I'm like, all right, let me flip back and see where this is going. And then all of a sudden, Atlanta's just like, scoring run.
Yeah. Speaking of wrestling and the Bulls game, I missed the first half of the Bulls game because I was watching Rampage, and I was sitting there watching Rampage, and Kip popped out of nowhere to put George Cassidy off of the top rope, and it looked like for a second he was going to lose to QT, and I was like, listen, if I miss the Bulls game to watch QT fucking Marshall win the All-Atlantic Championship, I'm going to be mad. What is this?
I will say,
QT getting this shit off, man.
I bit on that fall as well because for about 3 seconds I was like, because I'd already read the spoilers, and so when he hit that cutter, I was like, did I misread the spoilers for like 3 seconds? I'm like, did I misread this? Because I don't. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, I was out for a second. I was like, whoa, wait a minute, Kip. I was about to be hot at Kip. I was like, yo, if you don't get that box and get the fuck out of here, bro.
He needs some kind of heat out here, because that was kind of grim when he showed it. Like, the fans did not care one. Like, nobody even was like, yeah, Kip. Like, not one person cared about Kip Sabian. It was kind of sad.
No, I was talking to Denise most through Rampage, and I know that on her podcast, I haven't seen it yet, but I know she like ripped into Rampage. I was a little kinder over the fact that, you know, she was just like, this show is like a fucking chore to watch. And Yeesh. I was like, I agree in that I thought all of the matches, nothing in the matches I cared about. But the outcomes, like everything that surrounded it was great, right? Like, I thought, are you kidding me? Shane Taylor showing up and Shane Taylor Promotions challenging Swerve in Our Glory at the next pay-per-view. That's great, right? And it was like the Acclaimed coming out and challenging FTR. Great stuff. And I thought the Saraya thing was really good. She's talking about she's coming for the title. You know, we got a video package for Sheeta and the Bunny. Great stuff. And even the ending of the show with House of Black showing up, and then they posted that exclusive clip on AEW's Twitter of them talking about they want the Elite. All great stuff. But then the problem is the stuff in between it. Like, I don't care about Darby Allin versus Cole Carter.
Don't care one bit. Not one bit. Like, he's a talented dude, but like,
did we ever get an answer as to why he dressed up as Sting randomly in that episode, and why it looked like he was going to join Jay Lethal and those guys?
They said they just got him on loan from the factory.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
Wow.
And then and so Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal versus Private Party. Like, I'm happy to see Private Party on TV. Didn't care about this match. Right. And even the Athena squash was like, look, I cared more about what happened after, but like otherwise, I don't care about this match.
I enjoy watching Athena beat women up. I think it's great. I think her heel stuff is great.
I think it is great, and I think she's going to make a really good ROH World Champion.
I think she's winning that final battle. This felt like watching Sunday Night Heat, where all the matches weren't all that great, but all the developments and announcements around it were great.
Did we just talk about this too? This is kind of crazy.
Yeah, it felt a lot like Sunday Night Heat.
Yeah, that was how I felt about the show. I'm like, if I could just like push it forward through the matches and then and that's not me, right? Like, I want to watch matches. I want to watch matches I enjoy. And I feel like there's a balance they could strike, because otherwise all the developments on the show were good. Even Darby challenging Samoa Joe, like, all that stuff was good. But the match-wise, because on the other side of things, like, SmackDown was a dope show match-wise.
They had some good matches on there.
Some of that stuff on SmackDown was not hitting nobody. Ooh, buddy. Some of that stuff was not good. Right. They've got figured out with their women's division on SmackDown.
Oh, the women's division
not good.
Is god-awful.
It's not good.
But no, and I said last week that the thing that gets me about their women's division is that you can tell how dire the women's division is on SmackDown when Damage Control and Bianca can show up on SmackDown and get the biggest reactions on the show, But then the things that actually happen the things that are like, no, those are cameos. We're supposed to be talking about Ronda Rousey and Raquel Rodriguez, and like this is all the SmackDown stuff. Like nobody cares. And
I don't care that you're resetting Lacey again. I just don't care
God.
that whatever
Lacey
that Emma
promo.
and whatever that Emma and Madcap segment was before her match. Don't care. Yeah, a lot of the women's stuff on SmackDown just ain't good. I think it was very telling that nobody from SmackDown was in the women's War Game match.
Right.
At least Damage Control addressed it on television in a way that's like, y'all need to step up, and then proceeded to get beat up by one person again.
Yeah, it keeps happening to them. I will say about SmackDown, though, the Kofi Kingston and Gunther match, that's the Kofi Kingston that should have been wrestling on October 4th, 2019 against Brock Lesnar. You see that he can go with guys like this. I don't know why.
And nobody
you're
ever
squashing
said
him.
Kofi needed to win that match. 'Cause
No.
I feel like people always argue back to like, well, you really think Kofi should have beat Brock Lesnar?
No,
Nobody
not at
said
all.
that. But you didn't have to squash
Like, he
the
could-
WWE champion.
It could have been a badass match like he had with Gunther, a fucking in there, a credible opponent, not a jobber loser that gets squashed in 9 seconds. Like, what?
I'm having a good morning. I won't get into that with you guys because that still makes me angry to this day.
I know.
But
I
I
don't even
will
know why I
say,
brought it up.
but I will say, as a quick way to get away from that, if you're looking for a Christmas gift, hey, hold that up, right?
Wow, we're doing promos in the middle, baby.
Yo,
It's
fight
lit.
right.
Yo,
Let's go.
Fightful Craps shirts
Yes.
on shop.fightful.com.
Get you one.
I just
got
saw
a
this next to
Grapsody
me,
shirt
and that's
on
why.
too, baby. What's up?
Yo,
It's
come on, man.
Grapsody. It's
So
Grapsody. We out
if
here.
you're looking for Grapsody merch, shop.fightful.com.
Let's go.
Shop.fightful.com. Speaking of which, also don't forget to send us your super chats throughout the show. We got super chats, we got humper chats. We're gonna read them all, and that is what we're gonna do here on Grapsody. That's what we do. Caden says, "Felt bad for Tegan. Got to stop these cold returns."
I don't
Again,
know why they keep doing this. You
Yeah,
guys.
you should only do cold returns with people that have had a big impact on Raw or SmackDown, and people are going to remember them. People
That's
aren't
it.
going to remember what Tegan has done on either of those shows. So, no, you got to do something to, introduce her before you put her on TV.
Just
I think
playing the song and showing their name on the thing is not enough.
It ain't going to work.
I
not for
think-
people like Tegan and Candace.
Right.
right. I think that Hunter's biggest mistake thus far in these returns is they're not a return if they were only in NXT.
Right.
And you can't count on these fans to know who these people are. And I know that I'm one of the people who like kind of advocates for, trust your fans, because people will be like, well, you can't just like cold debut somebody in AEW. But like the thing is, who's going to get a reaction. Or I feel like at least Tony has kind of an idea of how much his audience follows other stuff. Like when they see, when I was at Forbidden Door, right? Like when Shibata's music hit, everybody's going nuts. Like, oh shit, I can't believe this is happening right now, right? Like they kind of know, but I feel like the WWE audience, you kind of have the stats in front of you, which says that Raw's watched by, on average, like 1.6 or 7 million people. SmackDown's watched by about 2.1 million about on average, and NXT's watched by about 600,000 on average. And so you have the stats in front of you that say that half your audience guaranteed does not know that's only let's do some math here. That's almost a fourth of your audience from SmackDown does not know these NXT people, and a third of your audience, as far as Raw is concerned, does not know these NXT people. So like, because WWE knows that and has those stats, I do think it is important to introduce people like that Johnny, or at least do it in front of the right audience, because that that's not the case for everybody. When you're in Canada, you probably got a bigger NXT audience, or at least one that knows the takeovers. So introducing Johnny Gargano in Canada worked. You didn't have to do much of a background on any of that, and it got a reaction. But on the other hand, the way they dropped in Candice LeRae didn't work.
Tegan Knox and Buffalo, like that has nothing.
Yeah,
they're
and
not
you
gonna-
didn't.
Come on.
You didn't even use Tegan in the way that she was initially used on the main roster. She was in a tag team with Shotzi. Wouldn't it have made more sense for her to come out and help Shotzi earlier in the show?
Oh yeah, that's right. She did have a run on the main roster. I
That's the
forgot all
thing
about
that
that. Everything I just said
confused me.
doesn't matter because she
She
was
was
on
in
the
there.
main
She was
roster.
in on there.
She was in a tag team with Shotzi, and they didn't reference that at all. They
That's
just
what confused me about the whole thing because I heard about the thing on Twitter, then I watched it later. So when Shotzi's getting beat up, I'm like, oh, Tegan's going to come and save Shotzi. And then she didn't come and save Shotzi.
No.
And I'm like, wait, what?
no. We got Raquel in a brace.
Right. And then she comes to save someone else that she does. Like, what? I don't. Okay. Right.
I mean, they at least had the payoff of as soon as she jumped in the ring, the first person that ran at her was Dakota because they have history together. But
Right.
again, she had the tag run on the main roster with Shotzi. So
Yeah, I forgot she was on the main roster last year because that whole period last year where they called up all those people and then released them was.
And exactly what you're saying here, you forgot, which means a whole bunch of other people
So-
also forgot.
Like, think
So
about
why would
me
dropping
forgetting,
Cole-
by the
Yeah,
way.
right. Will Washington forgot. You guys, something is going on here.
So you don't remember them doing that whole battery charging thing on NXT for weeks, and then they brought Tegan
Yes, I
back
do remember that. Yeah.
for one match, and then she immediately went to the main roster, and they acted like none of that happened.
Yeah, they did the battery buildup, and they called her up. I mean, that's one thing that, at least for now, as long as they still remain good friends, is that Shawn Michaels and Triple H will at least probably be on the same page.
Yeah.
And that there won't be Hunter building somebody up, working with something, and then all of a sudden getting a call like, hey, we're taking him, and good luck.
Yeah.
And then,
not gonna be
not only taking him, but we're then going to fuck him over. And
We're not going to do anything that you did down there. We're going to do something totally different up there. And we're not even going to acknowledge what he did down there, actually.
yeah, like you built up Keith Lee to this NXT championship. Hey, well, guess what? We're calling him up right now.
Yeah,
We need him.
He was a dual champion at that. He had both belts, but yeah, we need him. So, and he's gonna be Bearcat, and then we're gonna release him. And so anyway, we got Aaron Busby says, "Sup, fellas, happy holidays. Thank you." He says, now that the year is pretty much over, what is y'all's match of the year? Also, y'all buying stock that Solo is going to break up the Bloodline since he seems kind of standoffish from them? I don't think he's going to. I think that ultimately it's I still think they're playing Sammy, and that
yeah.
the more people get into all of this, they're even kind of hamming it up. The way they're encouraging the Sammy Uso chants, oh, they're going to beat that motherfucker's ass. Like, that is, I don't know how we can't see that, but like,
You know what? That's interesting. I was actually thinking about this last night about the Bloodline. So, when this thing happened on Saturday and Sami Zayn did the thing and everybody was cheering, the end of Survivor Series, everyone was saying the same thing. Oh, I can't wait until Sammy gets what's coming to him. I can't wait till the Bloodline does it. Can't believe they're going to do it at Elimination Chamber in Montreal. So 100% of us know this story, right? We know what's going to happen here, quote unquote. We're happy about that.
What do you mean?
yeah,
We're happy. Like we know exactly the payoff, what the payoff's going to do.
Well, we
and
don't know exactly the payoff. We know like kind of the idea of what the payoff is because
But I mean, the payoff is like them beating Sami Zayn's ass.
I was kind of
sure,
yeah.
but the thing is, just because you know it's coming doesn't necessarily make it bad, right? Like,
Right. That's where I'm trying to lead to.
yeah,
No, of
And-
course. Yeah,
because
I mean,
we wanted Batista to turn on Evolution. We wanted that moment to finally come. It happened we waited for 3 months. We knew it was coming. Like, the thing is, even Kevin Owens turning on Jericho, we knew was coming. You could sense it all along. It was just a matter of when he was going to do it and how he was going to do it. And the way they delivered it was still masterful. That's still one of my favorite Raw segments of all time.
Great.
And so this can be one of those same things where, like,
Okay.
we know, but the how is still what we want to see, and
how's
it could
the thing.
still be very good. Because, like, if I were writing it, I would love for Jay to basically snap back into, when they all jump and when Roman kind of gives the nod, like, give it to him. And like Jay starts beating his ass, Solo starts beating his ass, and like I want Sammy on the ground like reaching for Jimmy, and Jimmy, it kind of gives him a look like, because Jimmy's been the one on his side the whole time, and Jimmy just gives him a look like, sorry, and then he starts stomping him as well.
Yo,
like
Jimmy coming back to save Jay, 2 years ago. And he fell right in line. He fell more in line than Jay did. He fell
like
straight
the next
in line.
Day, he was like, "Yeah, now let's roll with Roman, bro. We good."
And no,
yeah,
so,
I feel like they kind of dropped a lot of that, where it seemed like they were heading toward, they couldn't get Jimmy in line, or Jimmy was just kind of more like, I'm gonna just do. And eventually they were like, nah, we're good.
No, I'm happy to be here, guy. Now,
to answer Aaron's other question, I will not be answering that question. He said, what is y'all's match of the year? Sean announced today, as I was hinting at on that was on Ask Grapsody. Yeah, had my A right, but it was on Ask Grapsody. Sean, I mentioned that we're going to be doing a show announcing the awards for the Fightful Awards. We're going to do a Fightful Awards stream, a live stream, a podcast. Sean announced the hosts of it. It is going to be, I said, like, if you were thinking Fightful, like, what 3 people would you have picked for this? And the lineup is going to be myself, Denise Salcedo, and Sean Rossap. And so that's the trio. We are going to be discussing our 3 picks for all of these categories, as well as announcing the winners as voted on by the Fightful Select subscribers. So if the overall winner is going to be the one that's been voted on by the Fightful Select subscribers. So of course, if you're subscribed to Fightful Select, you're going to start getting these, ballots emailed to you, and you can start to fill those out. And we're going to be tallying all of them up and announcing the winners. And like I said, that's the lineup: me, Sean, and Denise. And so you'll hear all of my picks for match of the year, wrestler of the year, all of that on that show.
All right, I'm not on that show, so mine is.
I was gonna say you guys though.
It's been said a bunch of times. FTR versus the Briscoes, #1 in Texas. I was sitting next to Will Washington and Philip Lindsey. We were going nuts when the Young Bucks came out. We were going ham. Everything connected to that and the match. It's like, that's the one. That has to be the one.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably the pick. Just for the sake of saying something different, I'm just gonna say Okada versus Ospreay.
I knew he was gonna say that. I was like waiting on it.
Yeah, that match is special. As for the Sammy stuff, my theory, and I tweeted this last night, is that Solo pretty much knows that Roman has flipped and he doesn't trust Sammy anymore, and he doesn't want to be fake about it. He's the only one out of the 4 of them that's like, nah, I'm not about to play this game. I'm rolling with what Big O says, and Big O says it's over for this dude. So I'm basically just waiting for the call. So
as soon as he give me the nod, it's on, it's lit.
Yeah, so
it's like, look, I'm not trying to fuck with this guy the way you guys are. Like, y'all are gassing him up. I'm over here just.
Nah,
it's the best because the Usos are his legit brothers, and like he's not riding with his brothers.
He is very clearly looking around like, nah. And he's been doing it since Survivor Series, so I feel like that's the telltale sign. And the other telltale sign was the segment they did before Sheamus ran in and beat up the Usos, where Jimmy asked him like, hey, what did you think about him lying to you, and what made you change your mind? And he didn't give him a straight answer. No. He knows the answer because he knows that he doesn't have to change his mind, because now Roman sees it the way he sees it.
Right. I think that Kevin Owens promo was pretty great too. The one where he was like, no matter what you try to do, you'll never be their blood. Like, that was like the line that established, like, bro, it's on for you. You're out of here.
Because I saw somebody also say, why would Roman turn on Sammy after all of this? Because if I'm Roman and I'm looking around, and as paranoid as Roman has shown himself to be for the past 2 years, no, if you show me you'll turn on your best friend, then you'll turn on me too. That's all it is.
Turn our back on family, and you did that to somebody you consider family. Like, what's up? Yeah.
Yeah. I will say it's one of the most intriguing storylines going today. It's actually really great stuff. We got some others. Let's see. Jason R says, Grapsody, what do you attribute the most to AEW's women's division's stories / feuds seeming to be improved lately? Also, opinions on the Guardians of the Galaxy 3 trailer. All right, we'll take this one little piece at a time. I will start with improvements to the women's division stories and feuds. Just letting them cook, right? Like
Toni
that's
Storm.
really Toni Storm was. I feel like she definitely spearheaded things more than anybody in the sense that Toni Storm. You know who Toni Storm was to me? And guys, I don't mean this as a direct one-to-one comparison.
Here we go.
You don't have to draw complete parallels. But Toni Storm to me feels a lot like Bryan Danielson. And I mean that in the sense that Bryan came in and was like, I don't care about the structure of AEW. I'm more, because AEW for a long to this day, AEW has a bit of a structure where it's like you have guys, they kind of alternate. It's like not everybody works every single week. It's usually like it started that way, and then the roster grew so big that it was like, okay, we're gonna have a little bit of an alternating schedule where some guys work some weeks, some guys work other weeks, and you'll at some point see everybody. But then Bryan came in and was like, no, I'm working every week. This is what I do here. I'm Bryan Danielson. I don't work halftime. I'm Bryan Danielson. And, he came in, he was doing matches every single week. If Bryan had a chance to work somebody, he worked somebody. He came in and he worked Minoru Suzuki. He worked he did all those matches with the Dark Order guys. Bryan Danielson was like, he worked Nick Jackson a week after working Kenny Omega. He was like, I am going to wrestle every single week because I'm Bryan Danielson. That's what I'm here to do. And I think Toni Storm, really, there wasn't a women's wrestler before Toni Storm who was working every single week, who came in and was like, I'm going to do a match every single week. It was really this alternating schedule. Like I said, Toni Storm worked more matches in that 2 months on Dynamite. She worked more matches in that 2 months on Dynamite as women's champion than Britt Baker did in her near year as champion. And so I think Toni Storm kind of did a little bit of changing of the culture and that idea that, I'm coming in, I'm working every single week. And I think that mentality, when you saw Bryan do that, that made other people step up and want to be like Bryan.
Right, exactly.
And I think that Toni had kind of done the same thing for the women's division. And maybe maybe the division did want to work every week. I'm not saying they didn't. But I think Toni just becoming that probably lit a little bit under Tony Khan to push more of that each week. And now, we've got next week. We'll talk about Jade here in a little bit because there's a lot to talk about. But that's my feeling. What do you guys think attributed to the change?
I think it is Toni, and I think Toni's interim title run is very similar to Mox's interim title run in that she was very visible on TV. She was having matches a lot. So I do think that helped to spark it, but I also think it helped to have small segments for the women on both shows every week, even if it wasn't matches, just to have more of the women present on TV helped. Because, we're not going to act like Jade Nyla's storyline was just like this riveting television, but it was just good to see both of them on TV, and it was an entertaining use of them every week. Even if you weren't putting them in matches, it was just something to have them on TV, and it worked. And I think it worked the same way with Saraya. Even if, you didn't have a match with Saraya, she was still present, and I think that has helped a lot.
Yeah, and now you look up and down the show, and there's so much happening where you've got Jade's got a program now with Bow Wow, but that's also at least leading to, she's got the 6-woman tag coming up this week with the Baddies versus, who was it, Madison Rayne, Kiera Hogan, and Sky Blue. So, they have a match coming up this week, but also Saraya just noted that she's going for the women's title now, and so that's a thing that's going to involve Jamie Hayter, and then of course that's going to also involve Britt Baker. But then you go down, Sheeta is going to be defending her title next week against the Bunny, and then also on top of that you have Mercedes Martinez and Athena going for the women's title. So all of a sudden, or the ROH women's title. So you've got these programs just kind of left and right, all kind of scattered throughout, and that's the thing people have been saying they wanted to see. They just want to see more than anything else. They just want content.
I think them making like a conscious effort to say the things out loud that they're trying to improve on with the backstage things, bringing in Madison Rain, bringing in Renee, who is like helped out. Every time Renee's on screen, it's like somebody's going to be getting put over. And all the moves that they made like that, on top of having Tony and Jamie and all these women going for it every single week, it just showed us that they are putting a little bit more emphasis, and that's all we've ever wanted to see. And so we're here. It's pretty dope. Yeah. I mean, there were 3 women's matches on the last pay-per-view, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So. And there were 3 women's matches at Double or Nothing, but I feel like the difference here was that with there being all those programs I just mentioned. Mm-hmm. Also, Ruby Soho came back, and she's got a thing going with Ty. Yep. So, like, across the board, there's just stuff happening in the women's division. I didn't even mention Ruby Soho and Ty Conti. Speaking of which, shout out to me for the scoop.
Shout out to me is crazy.
Yes. For the scoop on Ruby Soho's return, FightfulSelect.com. It's $5. You get some great content there.
And Willow's out there too. We haven't talked about Willow. Got stuff like there's a lot going on. Honestly, you guys. It's kind of pretty good.
I feel like Willow is at least being groomed for like some kind of something's coming up for her soon because Tony doesn't do TV wins for no reason. Mm-hmm. Like usually that's supposed to lead to something, and I feel like making sure she got that TV win over Anna Jay this week.
Right.
My brain is immediately thinking something's up. Is she heading back toward Jade? Is she about to challenge Jamie Hayter? I don't know, but
Jamie Hayter and Willow. Please, thank you. I'll take it. I'll take several servings, please.
Yeah, I think it's also good that they've helped let us go along the journey with some of these women they're signing to, and because I think that's something they were doing with the men. And that's why we're invested in somebody like Jungle Boy, because we've been on the journey with him since day one. And I think you can feel that with somebody like Sky Blue and just watching how much he improves every time she's on TV. And I think that's helped a lot.
Definitely.
Guardians of the Galaxy 3 trailer. I want Phil's take on this more than anybody's. I'm a Marvel guy, but like, I just like all the stuff. But I feel like Phil is definitely one that gives more nuanced thought.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I popped super hard for them coming on screen with the blue and red suits that they wore in the DNA run. If you don't read comics, the DNA run is really the thing that put Guardians back on the map in the modern era. Like, for most modern fans, that's the thing that made people Guardians fans. And so it's cool to see them acknowledge that in the movies. It's cool to see stuff like they're going to do Rocket's origin. There's a lot of cool stuff they have in there. I'm very scared they're going to kill off Rocket, and there's so many things in this trailer that make me nervous. Like, please don't kill off Rocket. Rocket's my favorite character from the group. And I don't know, there's so many callbacks. This very much feels like it doesn't feel like it is. It's James Gunn's final movie with the Guardians. It's probably his final Marvel movie. And so this feels like a farewell to the franchise.
It absolutely is his final Marvel movie. That man works for DC now. And not only that man runs DC now. That man is probably not even thinking about the next thing he wants to do with Marvel. But you also have to think about the fact that a number of people from the Guardians cast said directly, I'm not working without James Gunn. As a matter of fact, Dave Bautista. Dave Bautista said, James Gunn was the guy who took a chance on me. I'm not doing this without James Gunn. So,
speaking of Batista, I definitely noticed both in the holiday special and in this, he's wearing shirts more like, listen, I'm tired of getting in shape for these movies.
He wears shirts. That's what he said. He said that man straight up said, I am in my 50s. I just cannot be doing shirtless movies anymore. It's not going to happen. And he's like, you have to stay in ridiculous shape to be shirtless for an entire movie. And I noticed the same thing.
I've been going to the gym every day for 35 years. I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want to go every day. I'm tired of it.
And so and the Christmas special, Batista's wearing a shirt, and on in this trailer, he's got a shirt on the whole time. He's like, I am not doing shirtless movies no more.
No, yeah, but no, this looks like a farewell to the franchise. There's a lot of James Gunn humor in there. There's a lot of stuff that looks like it's going to make me cry. I'm excited. I'm excited for this movie. He hasn't missed yet, and not just with the Guardian franchise. I feel like James Gunn has not missed with any comic franchise yet. Peacemaker was great. Suicide Squad was great. Looking forward to this.
Yeah, I'm excited, and I was pretty happy with just all the trailers that dropped this week. I don't know, whatever. I love Disney. I don't give a shit. Serve our corporate overlords that is Disney, because they put out some dope shit. Like, I like the Indiana Jones trailer. I was like, I'm in on this. And you know what's funny, though? Because I didn't even hate Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I was like, you know what? I could get into the idea that Shia LaBeouf is the next Harrison Ford. And, of course, 14 years later, that was very wrong.
Yeah.
Very wrong.
Very, very wrong. But at the time, seeing that movie, I'm like, I could get into this. Son of Indiana Jones. Yeah, let's keep going. Shia LaBeouf, let's go. Nah, they didn't.
Shia LaBeouf, they tried to throw him in as the heir apparent on so many franchises around that time period. Mm-hmm. They were like, this kid's the future of every franchise, and boy, that did not work out well. Remember, they tried to make him Bosley in the Charlie's Angels franchise, and I'm like, nah, where Bill Murray at, bro?
Yeah. Yeah, nope. Shia LaBeouf was not the heir like they thought he was going to be. And so watching this Indiana Jones trailer, I did have that slight thought the whole time of like, ooh, yeah. So we're just going to ignore that Indy had a son because we're clearly moved on from all of that.
Deadbeat dad-ass Indiana Jones. He's like, nah, I don't have a kid. What kid? I'm like, the whole movie about it. He's like, nah, I don't know. It wasn't me. Nigga, I could see you. We saw you, Harrison.
That was great. Let's see. Coffee Black says, shout out to California, Paywall Phil, and the generational hater.
Generational.
It's your boy.
Generational hater, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Real LTST is the captain winning the battle royal, and then finding a way to beat MJF. Let's see. So hold on, I'm trying to figure out the rest of this because it got cut off for the Diamond Ring. Okay, so that's it. So basically, okay. So what do we think is happening with the MJF and the Dynamite Diamond? I mean, Phil, you kind of said it on Ask Grapsody this week, but you're kind of the belief that Ricky wins it.
I think Ricky's winning. I do think it would be really funny if Sean Dean won it because MJF did tweet earlier, what is Sean Dean doing in this battle royal? I do think it would be really funny if he won it. But I think Ricky's going to win it, and I think Ricky is going to get close enough to taking all of the things that MJF held dear before being a champion, but he's going to get just that close and not beat him for the belt. But I think he makes perfect sense as a Diamond Ring.
Oh, yeah. Are you kidding me? I could absolutely see Ricky changing the pose just slightly to kiss in the ring. Like, that would actually be kind of cool.
Yeah. So I think Ricky's going to win.
I honestly think that MJF's going to keep the ring and go for another year. I think he's just.
But he doesn't have to anymore. He's moved on from the ring because now he's brass knucks guy.
He's MJF. He doesn't care. He just wants all the things. He wants to continue having all the things.
And let's see, we got another one. This one is from Van Twinblade. It says 3 weeks out to the next Glory Pro show, broadcasting on Fight. New announced. We've got Locked and Loaded versus Hustle and Muscle with Heather Reckless. We got Kenny Alfonso versus Lucky Ali. We got Jake Something versus Man Scout Jake Manning. We've got Laney Luck, Dan the Dad, Warhorse, and Danny Vega in a 4-way match. Definitely check out Glory Pro.
Yeah. Kenny Alfonso and Lucky Ali is dope. Lucky Ali is a really great wrestler. If you guys haven't heard him, seen him, he's been on Deadlock Pro Wrestling, which is also a great wrestling show if you haven't seen it. I think they have a show on YouTube, and they have their own streaming service. They have a lot of really super cool, dope things going on. The wrestling is top-notch, and Lucky Ali and a bunch of other great guys are doing things, and ladies and people are doing great things over at Deadlock Pro. So if you haven't seen that, definitely check it out.
RH says, Tegan Knox should have returned at the Rumble, and Dakota could sell it with shock and fear or surprise and disgust. Also, Grapsody is the best podcast. I mean, I think that's a place where people anticipate returns, and so just any names coming up tend to get a pretty good reaction.
All of them. They're like, we're not about to have no returns at the Rumble. We're bringing them all back before that.
Might have a return at the Rumble if one Sasha Banks is coming back, but I don't know.
But we talked about this afterward. We didn't get to talk about that on the show because you did bring that up last week, and I just felt like I think Sasha coming back at the Rumble, unless she's winning, would be, to me, a mistake. I feel like it would just remind me too much of last year, right? Where, like, last year, I mean, one, they brought her back before. They brought her back on the SmackDown before, and then she was, like, you know, we were in that crowd. She was a favorite in that audience, and people booed when she got tossed out of the match. And and I just think same deal here where, like, there's so much anticipation around the idea for being back that if you bring her back and don't have her win, just coming back with a loss is, to me, I think, a mistake. But also, she doesn't seem to fit into the plans for WrestleMania, so I don't see her winning. When you think about the fact that it's Ronda Becky WrestleMania, seems fairly obvious. And then on the Raw side of things, I could see them going with Charlotte and Bianca Belair.
Yeah, I feel like what they're going to do, based off of what Becky said in the press conference after Survivor Series and how she wants to be the first woman to win 2 Royal Rumbles. I think Charlotte's going to come back and say that she wants that title first, and that's going to be the thing going into the match, the two of them trying to win that accomplishment. Yeah. I don't want that to be the case because I think Rhea Ripley makes more sense as a Royal Rumble winner, but I don't see it happening.
Well, and on the topic of WWE returns, there's also the rumor going around that The Rock is on his way back, possibly going to be in the Royal Rumble. The Observer reported this week that it's at least one of the discussions that The Rock is going to be a surprise Rumble entrant, and he could possibly win the entire match.
I thought when you said, speaking of returns, you were going to talk about Eric Young possibly coming back to WWE.
I mean, we got a lot to talk about because there's also Regal.
Yeah, Eric Young got killed off the most recent episode of Impact, which is usually to tell that they're going back to the E. So seems like
PW Insider reported that is the case, that he's going back. Yeah. So yeah, Eric Young's headed back. But as far as The Rock is concerned, look, I love The Rock, and in 2011 I was like, I still think that's one of the greatest returns of all time. I'm still wondering whose legs were those when they showed that female's legs that were walking, and they were like, we're going to reveal the host of WrestleMania 27, and then it ended up being The Rock, and I'm still like, but whose legs were those? Why did you show us the female legs? I still don't understand what that was supposed to be. 11 years later, Rock, if Reg, you ever get that interview, you have to ask, whose legs were those?
He's probably not going to know what you're talking about.
I know.
I don't know.
Like, why the hell did you show us legs? Like, was that just supposed to be somebody who was in the car with you? I don't understand.
Yeah, I want that interview so bad, but Rock winning the Royal Rumble is god-awful. That sucks. That's dumb.
I mean, I
just like if Logan Paul can go on his podcast and say, I want a title match, a big title match against Roman Reigns, why the fuck can't The Rock do that? Why does he have to earn it? He doesn't have to earn a match. He's the fucking Rock. He's going to go out there and say, I want to wrestle at WrestleMania against Roman Reigns, and everybody's going to be like, yeah, cool, we all want to see that. Like, you don't need him to win the Royal Rumble. That's crazy.
Like, ultimately, I don't want Rock versus Roman to be for the title because I feel like you give away the finish. Right. I don't think anybody is going to question. I feel like betting odds are going to be like negative 10,000. But
right.
I don't think that anybody necessarily believes that there's a possibility of Rock walking away with the championship. Mm-hmm. And so I think a non-title scenario where what's on the line is who is the true head of the table, I think makes more sense to me. I would like to see them really fighting over the fact that Roman claims he's the head of the table. Roman claims that the family is all dependent on him. But The Rock, you know, he knows that's true because The Rock is like, look, I bought you all cars. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm
the head of this table.
I'm the head of this table.
I do this.
Yeah, you know, I'm the one who opened the door for every single one of you to have success. Like, I think that to me makes more sense than, like, I get no impression that Rock has any desire to have that title over his shoulder. So that to me, it isn't necessarily something I would want to see. It'd be a nice little surprise, but also it's another straight year in which, let's think about this. Who won the 2021 Royal Rumble? That was Edge.
Yes.
Ugh.
And
Brock
2022 was
won this year.
Brock Lesnar.
Ugh.
And this year would be The Rock, if that's going to be the case. And I just think the idea that the Rumble, which used to be the culmination of, like, the cool thing about the Rumble happening in January is that, to me, I think the Rumble should always be a kind of a celebration of the year that the whatever happened that previous year for that person, right? And they spent that year doing what they were doing and eventually got to the point of winning the Royal Rumble and going to WrestleMania. And so, like, January was a perfect time to celebrate what that person did the year before. I think a good example of that is The Rock, who had, through that second half of 1999, became the top babyface in the company, was eclipsing Austin before Austin even went out on injury, and was proving that he was the guy. So it made perfect sense to have The Rock win the Royal Rumble in 2000 because that represented the year that Rock had just had in 99. And you think about...
Big Show won, though.
On the record, The Rock won that match.
Photographic evidence.
That used to crack me up so much as a kid. But again, like I said, that's really what it's traditionally been. I feel like the last few years, 'cause even Drew McIntyre wasn't that, because Drew McIntyre just kind of came out of nowhere. He didn't have a excellent 2019 to suddenly be like, this is our guy in 2020. They're just like, actually, we're just gonna do this. But thinking about how Edge, who wasn't even around, just came in, won. Okay. We had Brock Lesnar, again, part-timer, just kind of comes in, wins.
Boy, that Rumble sucked.
That sucked. And on top of that,
sucked.
Like I said, it just, you're looking back now at, so who had a year that you could be celebrating, right? Like, that's what I feel like the Rumble is supposed to be. Right. Or at least if somebody's making a comeback, like a triumphant comeback, you're kind of celebrating that. Like, I think it should be Cody, but I also don't think that Cody should be losing to Roman Reigns, and it doesn't seem to me like they have any intention of not going to year 3.
Yeah, he's walking out of WrestleMania with both those belts. Like,
he is.
Anybody's gonna do
I think it should be Cody as well. If you're picking a guy that has been having a year, and it should be him, it should be Seth Rollins.
Yes,
but if it's the guy that makes the most sense to go up against Roman, it should be Cody. But I will never stop saying that Rollins versus Roman makes perfect sense as a WrestleMania main event. They're not going to do it, but it makes perfect sense. I just think, I don't know, if you're setting a bad precedent by having Rock win. Yeah. I don't really like this precedent of part-timers just showing up and winning a Rumble. But I can understand why they would do it. I don't want it, though.
I mean, it's going to make all the headlines. That's the thing, is it's the biggest thing you could do. That Raw the next night is going to pop one of the biggest ratings that they could possibly pop. So I get it. It's just
it's young Rock back in the saddle. Like, all them young Rock fans are going to tune in to see The Rock do what he used to do.
Yeah, I just don't want it. And I just want to say on record, stop ducking the God. Roman keeps saying, I've beat everybody. You did not beat Rollins at Royal Rumble. You still owe him a rematch.
Right.
Give him his match.
Yeah. My thing is Rollins, Cody, or maybe Bobby Lashley. He's been kind of set
Bobby
to
Lashley makes sense, too.
Being able to do it, too. So, but I don't think it's going to be Lashley. But he could. Like, Rollins and him, I think, have what Will was saying, the best story of, like, throughout the year that could be built up to them getting the victory in the Royal Rumble. So.
Yeah,
we'll see.
I mean, and that's the thing is, like, also Sami Zayn has that story.
Yeah, he does.
He does.
He's had a great year, and the Rumble should be a celebration of the year the last person had,
Right.
or that the winner has. Like that's always made the most sense to me. Becky Lynch winning the Royal Rumble made perfect sense for somebody who had the 2018 she had. Of course, she won the 2019 Royal Rumble.
The women's ones have kind of been okay because Bianca won and she deserved the win. Like they've been doing all
but
right
then
on
Ronda
this.
Rousey won this year.
Yeah, you're right. Damn, they can't help it. They can't help themselves.
Yeah.
Like this year is the worst example of doing the Rumble in kind of its traditional fashion.
Right.
So
It's a very bad Rumble. Like, I can't believe how bad Royal Rumble was this year. It was not good.
no, and we were there, and I was excited. I was like, look,
I was
it's,
super excited.
it's my first time in St. Louis, and
But the
I could
best-
literally see the arch right out my window.
The best part is
at my
that
hotel.
fans do not care though. The one next year, the one that's coming up is doing record numbers. They already put up like 5
No,
million,
it's
but,
still the Royal Rumble.
like
It's
they
still
lit. They don't care about last year. They're moving on to the next year, and that's what's
No.
a benefit for the WWE. Honestly, you know.
it'll be fine. Look, Royal Rumble is still my favorite WWE pay-per-view. But this year was not good.
No. Oh yeah, I've always said I like Royal Rumble more than WrestleMania. I think
Definitely.
that
I agree.
the 2 Royal Rumbles I went to definitely were kind of bizarre in a sense, and that
That's a good
as a matter
way
of
to
fact, you
describe
kind of flip flop them. I've been to the 2017 Royal Rumble, which had that bizarre Randy Orton winning, and that made no sense at the time. Like it's like, oh, Wyatt family member Randy Orton wins the Royal Rumble.
Yeah.
Because I think everybody was kind of thinking like Taker would win because Cena had won the title that night, and everybody was like, "Oh, it's going to be Taker Cena at WrestleMania." And as I trashed on Ask Grapsody this week, I was like, "Look, part-time Cena is the worst. I think that when Cena doesn't have like when Cena's back in the saddle, like it's great shit. He is so good when he is ready to come in and work." But when Cena's like, hey, I can't get hurt, I got a movie. And you know what's a shining example of that, by the way? The first time I ever noticed that was actually in 2008, where Cena had this like killer 2007. Cena was like, I mean, he was going so hard, he tore his pectoral muscle and was out for a few months. Cena, though, had a killer 2007. And then in 2008, Cena came back for a couple months, and then they were like, actually, you have to film 12 rounds. And so Cena was like half-ass working that entire time. Like he wasn't taking really any bumps. All his matches for like the 3 months they were filming were just straight up like, okay, you're not actually going to do anything, and you're just going to like take a few punches and then hit an AA 1, 2, 3. All of his matches were that. And even he worked WrestleMania. It was Cena, Orton, and Triple H that WrestleMania, but he was also still filming 12 rounds at the time. And so like Cena did the least in that match. And, it's like you can tell when Cena's in a mode of, all right, can't damage the face, can't break anything. Like I got a movie I'm filming. And he works his matches like he does. And that's my worry with him coming back this year is like, is he back or is he like back? Because we know what Cena back looks like. We saw that at WrestleMania 33 where he barely worked a match. And
I mean, look at the thing that he did with Bray Wyatt too. It was like that wasn't a match. They used camera work and shenanigans and all kind of shit.
yeah, I mean, people loved that. I was gonna say people loved it, but that's definitely the.
I'm sorry. I love the Funhouse match. So. That was great.
Put me to sleep.
Nah.
I'm a
Okay, are you kidding me?
About it.
Cena having the NWO shirt on. And, come on. No, that was great.
Pandering. They pandered. Everybody bit too.
It's wrestling. What do you mean? Wrestling gets pandering. I'm sorry.
Pander.
A good amount of wrestling is pandering.
Reg is funny as hell. Van Twinblade says Ronda is a D-tier performer. Fight
Ronda
me.
Rousey's got to drink some caffeine or do something here because this is bad, you guys.
Yeah. This run is bad. This
bad.
This second run is bad. Her rookie year was great, but I
Yeah.
think the thing that is missing is that in that first year you could tell how much the others wanted to make sure that she looked good and how much they protected her.
It's not like that anymore.
And I just think now, like, she doesn't look as motivated. And then they're putting her in there with people that are not good enough to elevate her in a way that somebody like Triple H or Sasha is smart enough to do. And that's not a knock at some of her opponents this year. I think Shotzi tried very hard at at Survivor Series. But some of them bumps, buddy, that Ronda didn't want to take didn't look good, man.
Yeah, they've gotten to a point where they need Ronda to carry matches, and she can't carry matches.
No, she cannot.
She needs somebody to be in there with her.
She didn't look good at the Rumble, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, she looked real bad at the Rumble. And I think that, we're sadly approaching the timeline where, guys, Ronda was around for a year last time, right? She came in, she worked her first match, WrestleMania 34, and she was gone after WrestleMania 35. She worked one straight year with the company. At the Royal Rumble this year, this run is about to have been longer than that one, which means that she's about to have more bad than good to her career. She definitely did not come back with the same fire. I remember in 2018, the general idea was, man, she's a natural at this. She's got this. Like, she came in and she's clearly just got it. Something's clicking. You know, she's got these matches with Alexa Bliss. She's having these matches with Nia Jax, matches with Charlotte. Charlotte at Survivor Series 2018. Great match. And something is not hitting the same for her in 2022. She's just not the same performer. I don't know what it is. I know. I said this last week.
She left, and then she talked all that shit about wrestling fans. Wrestling fans are still they want to hang on to that, and I think she convinced herself that wrestling wasn't as cool as MMA, because she kept saying things like that was connecting, like, it's not as physical, it's not as this, and I think she kind of convinced herself that she would rather be fighting for real, and like the fake shit isn't as cool as she originally thought.
Here's my other issue with the Ronda stuff, because my thing is, she should have come back as a heel. She should have never come back as a babyface. She's just not interesting as a babyface. She hates being a babyface. She said it herself. But I think that Ronda never recovered from Survivor Series when she won that match from Charlotte. I think getting booed that night, she never really recovered from that. Right. I think that she felt like, this was different from MMA. She went from a world where, she kind of, I don't want to say left in disgrace, but she took a pretty humbling loss. And I feel like she felt like wrestling, I don't know, they love me here. I'm getting this big reaction. And that changed more and more throughout the year. And it really changed at Survivor Series when she was getting booed when she walked out. And I think the reception to her has been kind of mixed ever since then. And I just think part of that is why she doesn't seem as motivated. I could be wrong, but it just feels like she doesn't look as motivated when she comes back. It doesn't look like she's as happy to be there as she was.
And to keep it a stack, her best friend is doing a better version of what they think she's doing.
Shayna has always been better than her as well. I've always felt that way. Shayna's a better promo than her. She does a better job at the
MMA shoot work crossover stuff is way
she
better.
Does it, and that's because I think that Shayna's just a better striker than her. Ronda was never known as a striker, and so I feel like Shayna's a better striker. She makes the hard hitting MMA stuff look more legit. I think her mat game looks better. She's just better than Ronda in every way, in my opinion.
But so I just pulled up Ronda's cage match. Wow, holy shit! She's worked 53 matches this year.
Damn.
Like, obviously with house shows and stuff, but like, she's working out there and doesn't look like somebody who's getting regular reps.
I just think that part of it is that she doesn't look as motivated to be there. She just doesn't look as happy to be there. It's not working. I don't know if it's also that she doesn't like the material she's getting to do, but it's just clear there's a disconnect. It's just not working. And I do feel like right after SummerSlam, it was getting better. When she was coming and doing what they love to do with her, she comes out there and beats up some security guards, gets arrested. That stuff was working. But it seemed like right after they turned her heel, it was like right back to where we were at the beginning of the year.
Jay Stone. Oh, sorry. This kind of gets back into it, so that's why I wanted to read what Jay Stone said.
Yeah.
He said, hey, fellas, given the current state of the women's division, what feuds or roles do you see Charlotte coming into once she's back?
Yeah. I think that Ronda and Shayna is a good pairing, by the way. I just think that they haven't hit the bright spot with it to make it work. As far as Charlotte, I think that I wouldn't have felt this way earlier this year, but SmackDown desperately needs Charlotte.
They do.
But it feels like she's headed to Raw. I feel like she's going
that's
after.
The weird thing.
I feel like she's headed for Bianca.
Yeah, but I still feel like in general, I am never against.
Becky's going to be on SmackDown too, right?
That's what it seems like.
Yeah, I think Becky's moving. I'm never against giving people a chance to miss someone, and I definitely think giving Charlotte that time off gave people a chance to appreciate what she brings to the table. I'm not saying everyone feels that way because she's very divisive, but I definitely have been looking around like, yeah, they kind of need Charlotte back. And I think you're right. I think Bianca makes the most sense. Bianca has been saying for the longest that she wants to beat all 4 horsewomen. Right. And she's had a notable feud with the other 3. Charlotte's the only one left that she hasn't beat.
She's beat 2 of them at WrestleMania already. So
yeah, and I feel like there's a story in a sense that Charlotte has pretty much created a legacy as Miss WrestleMania. She has, for this era, had the most notable WrestleMania matches. But for the past 2 years, that's been Bianca. Bianca has had the 2 most impactful WrestleMania matches over the last 2 years. And so I feel like there's a good story there to put them against each other at WrestleMania.
And that one Raw match they had delivered. So that's the other thing, too, is that, they also wrestled in NXT, but like I feel like the Raw match very much delivered. They went with a non-finish. That was that one where Bianca was very obviously watching the clock as like, oh shit, this show is over in 20 seconds, and I still haven't like hit her with this chair. So
yeah, I really didn't like that finish, but the match was good.
Yeah, match was good. I think they just both lost track of time.
And Charlotte gets a lot of heat and shit because she wins a lot, but she's great in the ring, and she can put it together every single time that she goes for it. So.
Which, for those who don't know, by the way, there is a clock under the hard cam, and all wrestlers can see that. They know their time.
Go home. And the referee's also saying, go home, go home.
Yeah, refs say go home. But you can see the seconds counting down to like, okay, we're hitting the top of the hour. You've got 5 seconds. Now they know and
that time they're gonna
and that's why that was the hard thing about that match is you kept seeing Bianca's eyes cut over, but because the clock is under the hard camera, you keep seeing her looking at the hard camera like, oh shit, we haven't like hit this DQ finish yet, and this show is off in 10 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, and that is the unfortunate thing. I really do like the idea of Rhea Ripley winning the Royal Rumble, but this is Hollywood, and you're getting 2 of the biggest marquee women you could get for a match at WrestleMania in Hollywood. Charlotte versus Bianca makes more sense.
Right. Yeah. No, Rhea's probably happening Rumble. I think, honestly, the fact that they're holding off on it, I think Rhea will have a big match. I think she's getting Beth Phoenix. I think the fact that they haven't paid that story off yet, I think that is, which is wild to think that that'll have been a year of like Edge and the Judgment Day at that point.
Oh my gosh. The forgettable Edge and Beth match at Royal Rumble.
But no, I think
with Miz and Maurice,
I think Rhea gets the title shot at Royal Rumble, and then Beth probably comes back around that time, and then we do Beth versus Rhea at WrestleMania.
So what's Edge doing at WrestleMania?
I mean, or they do a tag match. I could also see a tag match of like Rhea and Priest versus Edge and Beth. Also, I could see that.
Rhea and Dom versus Edge and Beth.
Oh, no.
Or I suppose it would make more sense to do Rhea and Finn versus Edge and Beth.
Yeah.
For WrestleMania.
But gotta get Edge out of there.
Edge is not staying at home, Brian. I'm sorry. He will be there.
Oh, yeah. He's definitely going to be there. In L.A. WrestleMania, for sure.
Let's see. Coffee with Colin says, hey guys, love the show. Looking to 2023, what feuds are you looking forward to seeing unfold in any promotion?
Kenny and Ospreay is
I was going to say,
out the gate.
The funny thing is that feud, I mean, we've seen pretty much all the feud at this point. They're still saying you're quiet, by the way.
What is going on here?
Are the settings in StreamYard? Turn off the auto adjust and just turn it all the way up. where it says automatically adjust my volume.
Feuds in 2023. I am looking forward to us finally getting the singles feud of Swerve versus Keith Lee. I think that's going to be great.
What are you talking about? They're partners. They're tagging at.
They're friends.
Yeah, they're friends.
Sure they are. Sure they are.
Hey, Reg, that's actually perfect. I don't know how you guys feel, but I think the audio is actually really good now.
Sounds better. I think it was that thing that you were saying.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Elite getting to do more trios feuds next year is going to be great. I think possibly getting Elite House of Black next year sounds really cool.
That's great.
Elite House of Black, like, honestly, I think if it were me booking this, I would be having these guys, like having House of Black kind of every single week for the next week, getting just a tad bit closer to the Elite until finally at match 7 in the best of 7 series. That's where House of Black finally attacks the Elite. Because, like, the fact that they went after Brandon Cutler this week, like, I would do little things here and there to keep getting closer to the Elite.
Don Callis better watch his back. He about to get his ass beat. You better watch every corner you walk around, Don Callis. You know House of Black's after your ass.
My dream feud for 2023 that I don't know if they're going to do, but they've got to do it because you're running out of time. Give us Oscar versus EO. Come on, stop wasting time and give us that match. That should be the match.
They've been teasing it a lot.
That should be the match you're ready to do by at least, I would say, SummerSlam.
Right.
Yeah.
And Sasha and Jade is going to be great, too. Can't wait. Mercedes. Sorry. Mercedes and Jade. That's going to be great. Mercedes Monet, not Mercedes Martinez. Is that her last name? Mercedes Monet?
It's Monet. That's what she's trademarked.
Let's
anyway.
go. I can't wait till she shows up. It's going to be great.
Let's see. D-Lo Dixie says, y'all see the trailer to Cocaine Bear movie? Look, I haven't seen the trailer. Oh, exactly what it sounds like. It is I think it's a horror film, right? But so
That's
Cocaine
exactly
Bear.
how it sounds, a bear on cocaine.
Yeah. So Cocaine Bear is a movie that comes out next year, directed by Elizabeth Banks. The plot says, after a failed drug smuggling operation, a black bear ingests a large amount of cocaine and goes on a drug-fueled rampage. That is the plot of the movie.
Is this going straight to Tubi? This sounds like a Tubi special, right?
No, this is getting a full-on theatrical release. It's one of the last movies Ray Liotta did. He's actually the star of it.
Ray, what you...
This is crazy. Damn, Ray got his last one in on the Cocaine Bear. Woo. Good for them.
Cocaine Bear.
I've been hearing a lot about this online, but I'm like, what the fuck are y'all talking about? What is this Cocaine
And it's
Bear?
wait. This is the part I didn't know. Sorry, a headline just popped up from CNN that says the viral Cocaine Bear movie is based on a true story, in which
What
is happening right now?
They said it's kind of a true story, and that like what really happened was just like the bear got the cocaine and died. But this is a case of, I think somebody obviously saw that story and went, nah, wouldn't it be better if the bear got their hands on the cocaine and then just like went on a fucking rage?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Interesting.
Haven't seen that trailer, D-Lo.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
I want to watch it, though. It
Let's
sounds
see.
interesting.
Okay, Joel Wood. I love this. Will, usually when you talk about debuts in AEW, you always seem like you're holding back on what you know. So if you had a gun to your head and had to choose today, do you see Sasha returning to WWE, AEW, or neither? My likely still says WWE. But, you know, I said last week the time to do it was Survivor Series, TD Garden, her hometown. Like, she was literally at the TD Garden 3 nights later watching the Celtics play. Clearly, that is
very intentional.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's very clearly a place you can take her and get her, and it's a place that's very accessible for her. So the fact that she wasn't there,
and then everything you just said about the Rumble, it's like she doesn't look like she's in the plan. So why would you? And don't bring her in cold for Charlotte to throw her over the top rope like that. Doesn't seem like a great idea. I don't know.
I did talk to somebody in AEW who does not know, but they did say to me they love it if she did, and that was it. that was all I got. They were just like,
Cool.
they said, yeah, they were just like, look, if I could have Sasha on board, I would absolutely take Sasha on board. Are you kidding me? There's no question she would make a difference to this division. This is somebody in the women's division, by the way. But they're like that. I'm not saying that as I know. I can just say that I hope, and that's all.
Yeah. I don't want to loosely speculate on it because I have been of the opinion that she's going back for the longest. But this is the most since everything has happened that I'm like, I don't know now. And to be honest with you, everything I'm excited for her to do if she comes back to wrestling, I want her to do outside of WWE.
Right.
I feel like the feud that I would like to see her do is the Saraya match because Saraya says she wants that match.
I thought you were about to say Kyrie.
Yeah, and I feel like if she's doing anything else, I want to see her wrestle in the Tokyo Dome. I want to see her do all these other things that I know that she can do.
My God, if she showed up January 4th, that would be
I'm already crying right now thinking about it.
Kyrie beating Tam and holding that title up, and the next thing you hear is Monet's music. That would be amazing.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's ultimately what I want to see. I want to see her show up January 4th, Tokyo Dome. Right after
I like
that.
to think about how comparing Sasha and Charlotte on their training. They're coming back to training. Charlotte was training with Alba Fire and Zoe Starks, and Sasha's training in Mexico doing Lucha Libre. Like, think of these things. Like, if you're training to go back to, like, you don't train to go back to WWE by going to do Lucha. You go, like, get with, like, Kurt Hawkins and Shawn Michaels or some shit. You know what I mean? So there's some very interesting developments happening.
Yeah.
This is very different than a couple months ago. I was like 100% on she's going back, but all the things that she's been doing, I don't know, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, people that are like they don't think she's wrestling again. Like, fam, you don't go to Mexico for a month and train,
Right.
And you're not planning.
If you
to
don't
get in the
like
ring.
that, right?
No, she's coming back to wrestle.
Big facts. And she's been doing some great work out there in Mexico, honestly. I've been watching her little videos, and she's getting her little head scissors off all over there. So I'm excited about wherever she does. Sasha Banks, the greatest WWE women's wrestler of all time. Mercedes. All the Mercedes are cool because I'm super excited about that Athena match. Again, that's going to happen in ROH that we're going to talk about soon.
Yeah. Dream Ninja says, I see Beth entering the Royal Rumble and eliminating Rhea, leading to Rhea Beth at Mania. Did it feel like Jade was teasing Mercedes Moné in her promo? Again, a lot of people feel that. I don't know. I don't know at all. And whoever does know is definitely playing cards close to the chest.
Right. Whoever knows ain't saying shit.
The connection is there because Bow Wow is very good friends with one Snoop Dogg.
Yep.
And so connections are there if they want to do it because if that rumor is true that people weren't happy that Snoop went and did AEW stuff, it's like, oh, who could I get to work a proxy for me?
And you know the because I think about how Darby told the story of he didn't really know about Punk either. He was just kind of pulled aside, and when he was told to cut that promo, they were like, make sure you include the line "best in the world," and that like told him in his head like, oh, I think I know where this is going, but obviously I'm not supposed to say it. But like cards were very much played close to the chest on that one. And the guys
in these
who
streets, you can't say anything because somebody will leak that shit. If you say one thing, somebody will find. They'll look for their flight information. They'll find some kind of shit. So you have to play it legit. So close. You can't let anything slip because wrestlers and shit happens so fast. We saw like Bryan and Punk's debuts were spoiled pretty much. You know what I mean? Like no one.
Although I am thinking in hindsight, by the way, here's something we haven't thought about in a while. But thinking about the Elite and CM Punk heat now, remember when CM Punk was coming in, the Elite were dropping the little hints. Kenny had the Cookie Monster shirt, and like it's just weird.
Elite, they were teasing it all like every episode for a while.
Fam, the episode after he came back and Punk looking back into not Gorilla and smiling at the Young Bucks as he was walking out.
Mm-hmm.
Man, what a different time. Like, I feel all the time, like, take me back to that time. It was great.
I know. It is very different, though, because, like, Matt Jackson used to talk about the fact that, he had a relationship with CM Punk, that he would talk to him and try to get it. He tried to get Punk to come to ROH in 2017, and so it is crazy to think that all that shit fell apart. And how quickly it fell apart. When you see like Punk and Hangman Adam Page, them tweets at each other like that were all friendly just like earlier this year. And
definitely saw my guy very intentionally seem like posting a picture of his dog this week.
People bit too. They bit.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know what to make of any of it, but I do think that some people that thought I was being biased last week kind of owe me an apology. I'll just say that.
yes. I mean, look, we've got, I don't know, as far as apologies owed, who knows yet, where things are.
I'm just saying, I was right about it not being at work, but people were like, "Oh, you don't like fun. You're just being a party pooper because you were mad that they were trashing Chicago." Blah blah blah. No, that's not what was happening. No.
Well, let's keep it going. We got another one
Let's
from.
figure it out. How do I sound?
Yeah, it's popping.
It's popping.
It's not that it's that it's popping. So.
Oh, that's weird. Okay. I'm going to be back.
Yeah, just like give it a refresh. Tried to send that in a private message, Reginald.
I mean, shit, I'm dropping out. I might as well let.
Well, either way, we'll keep that there for a sec. You'll know when Reg is back.
By the way, I also thought this was funny because people that are like, man, why don't you just admit you're a homer? You're Chicago biased. I don't know if people remember this when we did the bios.
Robot Reg, that's hella funny. How's it sound? Is it popping?
Perfect. That's perfect.
Sweet.
That's why I was just saying. All you had to do was refresh.
I don't know if people remember when we did the rollout for this podcast and everybody did our reveals and it had the bios next to our name with the picture. I am the only person on this podcast who has where they're from in their bio.
Right. Yeah, no, that's
true.
That's Phil's thing. We all know that it's Chicago Phil. Like that's his thing.
I don't know how more clear I need to make it that I am a Chicagoan. I am proud of that.
Just check our YouTube comments. Somebody's always like, Phil, here he goes again with the Chicago bias.
So I don't know how much clearer I need to make that. I don't know why people would think, oh, well, you're not upfront with your bias. Like, no, I'm pretty upfront with it. I'm wearing a Bulls hat. Like, come on. I don't know if you knew what I wore to that Dynamite, by the way. I was wearing a Chicago Bears Letterman jacket.
Chicago
Hey.
Phil being Chicago.
All right, let's see. We got Dream Ninja says, I see Beth entering the Royal Rumble and eliminating Rhea, leading to Rhea Beth at Mania. Did it feel like Jade was Oh, yeah, we read that one. What am I doing? Sorry. Lamora says, I was wondering if you guys knew Omega's involvement with the women's booking. It feels like the Regina De Wave match has his fingerprints on it. As Kenny's tried to tell people forever, he has never been the booker. He is a producer for the women's division, not the booker for the women's division. And so, like, obviously, I think Kenny has a style of match he puts together, and I think it's a really exciting style of match. You know Kenny's matches when you've seen them. Earlier this year, Kenny put together the Riho versus Yuka Sakazaki match, and like you just know his style of match. It's very kind of balls to the wall, action based. It's a Kenny Omega match, but it's usually very action based. So I can see possibly, maybe not with the booking. I think this is just Tony Khan booking. I think it's Tony Khan looking at, hey, I got more titles here. I want to see him defended. That's what Tony Khan does. He's done that with the mixed tag titles from AAA. Like, he's done it with the AAA titles themselves. He's got the IWGP tag team titles. If Tony Khan has belts at his disposal, he's going to see them defended on his show. I think that's a very Tony Khan thing. I don't think that has much to do with Kenny, but I could see Kenny being the one agenting that match for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I do chuckle because that time period of people putting their hand up and going, "Not me," with all the women's stuff was very funny because it was like people like, "No, it's Brandy," and Brandy is like, "Guys, I don't book the women's division," and people like, "You're a liar," and then Kenny would go, "Look, I don't book the women's division." Well, somebody books it. It's one of you guys, and it's like, no, it's not either of us.
There's only one booker. There's only one booker in AEW. It's not a bunch of hats. There's one hat that wears the booker. He gets help, but there's only one hat that's booking the show.
Right. There's one booker on the show, and that's it. And it's not T. But speaking of which, Booker T is living up to everything I said he was going to be, by the way. As on commentary, like the fact that when Dijak showed up and he's like, "Who?"
Right, yes.
It's like, Booker, he's been on the show. Like, he is kind of NXT royalty in a sense, but okay.
He's been on multiple shows, not just this one. He's been on the main roster. He's been everywhere. Like, if you know, like, you should know.
No, he hasn't. T-Bar has been on the main roster.
Although, I do think it's funny, too, that he posted about the fact that, you know, Elon Musk has locked down verified accounts changing their names. And that happened in October, so all them people who changed their names for Halloween are stuck with Halloween names. Like Keith Lee was like, "I'm stuck Spooky Lee," and it's December now. And
Spooky Lee.
And Dominic, I guess Dijak, he said he was like, "And I'm stuck with T-Bar. Like, I can't change it." He's like, "I want to get rid of this name. I can't." So either way, though, but yeah, it's a myth that Kenny was ever the booker of the division. Right. Kenny was the agent of matches, and I think Kenny did great at that. I think that I think he gave Penelope Ford her best match, which is still the match with Sheeta, and just the way it was all put together and the way, like, people came out of that going, all right, Penelope Ford might be it, right? Like, that was the match that people started saying that she had it, was the match with Sheeta. That's just Kenny's style of match. He does his style of match in the women's division, and it comes through.
Yeah. Yep. Wish they would let him do more intergender matches. That's all.
Yes. And honestly, now the women's division has a ton of people on the agenting side. You've got... there's Madison Rayne. Of course, Dustin has always been. And yeah, now Kennedy's backstage and back in the game, and he can really put things together. Let's see. Devil Kazuya 27 says, "Did Ray put his tree up too early and Dom did right?" I mean, look, I am not a fan of Christmas trees before Thanksgiving. I did mine the day after. My tree is up now.
It's all about the day. It's all about the time. It's all about the hours. Yeah, Ray Jr. had his up already. It was already in Thanksgiving dinner before Thanksgiving. They was getting all their shit off. I mean, he's a wrestler. He has to prepare to leave somewhere, so I get it. That's all it is.
Yeah, Dom wasn't feeling that.
He wasn't. Good angle.
Yeah, Chi-Town Spurs says, "Sup, guys? Sad U.S. soccer fan checking in from home. Look, U.S. is out. You got to start saying football again. Wanted to shout out the AEW Women's Division. Feels more fleshed out right now than it's been in a long time, maybe ever. Willow and Anna killed it Wednesday. Anna stayed very over through that match. That was a thing."
Yeah, people showing up to the bar at 6 a.m. for these World Cup matches is crazy. All the bars are advertising, like, pull up at 6 a.m. I'm like, y'all are in there drinking beer at 6 a.m.? That is just...
Yeah, I enjoy every year. Every time this stuff comes around, U.S. fans acting like they're these huge soccer fans all of a sudden. And then when they lose, it's like, oh, we're losing. No, you're losing to other countries that take soccer more seriously than we do. Of course you're losing.
All right, so we got to talk about the biggest story of the week. Regal's going back to WWE.
Ooh. Yeah. What happened here? How did it happen so fast?
So I'm confused because it seemed like we got a correction, and then the correction got shut down.
Yeah, so the initial story came out. It was reported in numerous places that, it looked like Regal's contract was going to be up. Mm-hmm. And I think the biggest red flag for things like this should be when the rumors aren't necessarily coming out of AEW, but they're coming out of WWE.
Right.
WWE is really where these rumors were coming out of like, hey, we're getting Regal back. Yeah, and it was, I look back to Cody and how the rumors of Cody leaving AEW did not come out of AEW; they came out of WWE, and so that was the big indicator that Cody was jumping ship, was that WWE people were under that impression, not that AEW's people were necessarily. And so as far as Regal was concerned, there were certain things that were being said, like Moxley in that promo last week when he said, I want you to leave and never come back. Ooh, why would he say that?
Right.
And then this week, Regal being taken out by MJF, and we'll talk about the promo in just a little bit. But on top of the rumors coming out of WWE camps that Regal seems to be on his way out. And pretty much everybody's reported at this stage that it looks like Regal's contract is up now. Brian Alvarez believes there was some kind of out clause that he had. And look, Regal's BFF since the 90s has been one Hunter Hearst Helmsley. They've been tight, they've been thick as thieves since they were both in WCW, and obviously on screen Sean has been the person Hunter's most tied to, but behind the scenes Regal's been the guy Hunter's most tied to. Yep. And they built NXT together. That NXT was their baby. It was a combination of Dusty, Hunter, and Regal putting all of that together. The NXT as we came to know it, and
Regal
now that
was
Hunter,
Triple H's main scout. He was out at all the PWG shows I was at. He was at all the ROH shows. Like, he built that brick by brick by walking into these shows and scouting these people, scouting Adam Cole, scouting Kyle O'Reilly, scouting all the Ring of Honor and PWG and indie favorites that you want. Like, Regal was one of the reasons, a huge reason why TakeOver was anything, because he went and built what that became. So I'm not surprised that he's going back. And I find it super interesting that his out is like, no, if my boy becomes the guy, I'm out. Like, that's a crazy out. If my boy gets the job, I'm out of here, you guys. And so,
yeah,
developments, man, really fast. I thought this MJF thing was gonna play out for a minute, like I thought they were gonna build upon Regal being the guy, Regal coming, but his the way that Regal's whole demeanor the last couple of weeks has been kind of weird and interesting in his energy. So this kind of actually makes a lot of sense, because he's been kind of subdued the last 4, 5, 6 weeks or something. So makes sense.
Yeah. I don't know what to make of this. I've enjoyed Regal a lot as an on-air personality, more than I've enjoyed him for the past few years as an on-air personality. Mm-hmm. I think the stuff he's done character-wise is great. I think him on commentary is always good. But if you are teasing me with the idea of him going back and helping to make NXT special again, I'll take it.
I want Regal to do what Regal wants to do. And I think helping build the Hunter empire is obviously, I think, the thing that means more to him than anything.
Yeah.
Because they've been right hands. It's been the two of them together for many, many years. And so I think the thing that's like really throwing me is just how much Regal stuff has such a stamp on AEW television right now. Mm-hmm. That, look, I think Regal was the 9 months he's been in AEW did so much for so many people. Wheeler Yuta would not be Wheeler Yuta without this year he's had. Mm-hmm. Wheeler Yuta was tied to best friends and kind of a loser. Right. And what Regal's presence did for Wheeler Yuta changed everything for him. And so you can't say that he didn't add anything to television. Blackpool Combat Club was massive for is the most popular faction that AEW's had for babyfaces. It's been a big thing for everybody. So there's no denying what that faction did for everyone involved. I do wish if you told me you were only going to get 9 months and like 8 of those 9 months were spent with Jericho Appreciation Society, I would have been like, okay, that's a bad idea. Stop. But otherwise, I think Regal's been great for TV. It's interesting because like we still don't have a release date on the AEW video game. I've heard a couple of dates recently. I want to do a little more confirming before I post anything about that. Obviously, I posted some details about this week. I confirmed the rating because there were some rumors out there that the game was going to be M for mature because it had, and somebody speculated, well, yeah, because it's got intergender matches and blood. And I thought, that ain't an M rating. You can Street Fighter literally has the intergender fighting. As a matter of fact, most video games where there's fighting allow women to fight men. That's just been video games forever. And I don't think that has anything. I think you can get away with E for everyone with women fighting men. That doesn't matter. And even the blood doesn't necessarily. People think the blood is what got Mortal Kombat the M rating back in the day, or was what led to the ESRB. No, it was ripping off people's motherfucking heads. Like, blood is a thing that happens. We know you bleed, but when you are ripping hearts out and knocking heads off, that's the M rating. The general idea is that an M rating has to deal with either language, drug use, or the death of human beings at the hands of the player. And a good example of that is that Halo's 1 through 4 were all M rated. Halo 5 is T rated. And the difference was that in Halo 5, you could not kill your teammates. And that little change was enough to be like, okay, this is now a T rated game because there's no way to kill a human in Halo 5. And that's basically it. It has to specifically be at the hands of the player. If the violence results in a human's death, but like thumbtack matches, that's going to be a T rating, guaranteed. And so I was scratching my head at that, and I had tweeted that I didn't believe the M rating thing was true. And then AEW actually reached out to me and was like, yeah, that's because it's not. And they said the game's rated T for teen. And that we got I got a little more detail as I did some digging around and about how the game that the ESRB stuff was all submitted back in September, which totally makes sense when you think about all the music stuff that we did, which was specifically cited for ESRB purposes. But what I was told on that side of the game and what this means, and shout out to Sportskeeda for their report on CM Punk remaining in the game. What I was told in that regard is that once you have your ESRB rating, once you're rated T for teen, you cannot, without having to submit for recertification, you cannot touch the content of the game. That everything else has to be technical. You can tweak gameplay, you can, obviously fix bugs, glitches, all of that stuff, but the content is locked with the ESRB rating. And so what that means right now is that the roster is what it is. The music in the game is all what it is. The attire, all of that is all what it is, because if they make any changes to that now, that has to go back through ESRB certification. So we at least know the game is that far along. I'm saying all this to say that, does anybody remember when those videos came out and the tutorial of the game was all narrated by William Regal? the whole tutorial of the game, all of the everything you do as far as the instructions, all of that in the game is all narrated by William Regal. They were kind of in on the idea that, of course that makes sense. He's Blackpool Combat Club. He is kind of a mentor to so many people. Why wouldn't he be the mentor to you as the player of this game? And just thinking about the fact that by the time this game launches, he could be well back in WWE. And that's just kind of bizarre to think about. Punk is remaining in the game. Cody is remaining in the game. Nobody's being removed from the game chat. Because it's just altering the content, removing things too. It's the same deal. Your content is what it is once you've submitted for ESRB. You can't touch the content without having to go back through certification. They have their T rating. It's there. Don't touch content. You can touch gameplay. You can tweak how, obviously things are going to work. And I think that's the stuff they're working on still is the mechanics and still working on the technical aspects of the game. But the content is locked.
Yeah. No, he's had a huge impact on AEW for less than a year. It doesn't seem like it's been less than a year. But I am a big believer in letting people do what they want with their career. If he wants to be in WWE, if that's where he feels like he will make a better contribution and other things, that's his decision. If that's what he wants to do, great. Never going to dump on anybody making decisions that they feel are best for them. And I can't say that it's not going to be good for NXT because I feel like NXT has definitely been missing something without him. So I'm not really sweating it. I think we got a good run with him in AEW. I've enjoyed everything he's done. I think it said everything that he was willing to put another guy over in a sense in Max and give Max a good story on the way out. So. No, nothing really here to be upset about. I don't understand people that are upset about it.
Yeah, I can't see being upset about that. I did raise eyebrows when Hunter posted that War Games post, right. And that my immediate thought was something's up.
Hunter being messy.
Yeah, when he tweeted that, I was like, something's up. I don't think this is nothing. Nothing in wrestling is ever nothing. And where people are like, oh, he's just, giving a shout out to a friend. I thought, giving a shout out to a friend while there's rumors going around that he's leaving, I don't think so. I think there's something to this.
He don't give shout outs to nobody else that don't work there.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. He's not going to shout out a random person in another company just because. Yeah, that's crazy.
Speaking of shouting out people in random companies, I got to talk about this. Because I am shocked nobody else has picked up on it. You know what I'm about to bring up. But Top Dollar dropped a rap this week. He dropped a brand new rap. And I feel like it's flown completely under the radar. Not so much the rap itself. Sean Ross Sapp shared it. But
Sean Ross Sapp is in the video.
Sean Ross Sapp is in the video. It's got clips from when Sean interviewed Top Dollar. But it feels like, I was looking through the comments, nobody seems to be noticing that he seems to be dropping some disses at a former Hit Row member. So, yeah, I don't know how that got missed, but that's definitely there, I just thought it was interesting.
What's going on here? Why is this happening?
Yeah, I don't know what to make of that. It's again one of those things where, if this isn't gonna lead to anything, why do it?
Yeah.
I don't really get it. But hey, whatever floats your boat, friend. I don't know do you think that helps get away from the idea that Hit Row needed him? I don't know. Maybe he didn't like some of that. Maybe he didn't like some of the talk that Hit Row needs a leader and he doesn't feel like he's the leader. Swerve always felt like he was the leader. Maybe he feels resentment towards that. I don't know. I don't know what sparked this, but I was definitely sitting there looking like, yeah, some of these bars definitely feel like they're directed as well.
Oh yeah. No, there's no question. I have zero question that they are. My thing is I'm just kind of curious what's up. And the reason I say that was because so we had Swerve on this show right after Hit Row re-debuted in WWE, and one of the things that Swerve talked about was he gave them their props and gave them he was publicly very supportive of Hit Row going back to WWE and talked about it like he was proud of him. So I am curious what motivated the other side of that for Hit Row to, and I won't say Hit Row because it doesn't include Shanti and it doesn't include BFAB. This is strictly a Top Dollar thing, but he did. There's no question. So,
I don't know. Hey, like both of those guys, so I don't, it is what it is.
Were they on the show last night, Hit Row, on SmackDown? When were they the last time they were on the show? I don't understand why this is happening, bro. Like, it doesn't, like, you'd have to, like, be successful at your return for you to talk this shit. And it's like, it doesn't, like, no one wants this. Just, like, everybody be cool and everybody be, because, like, it's been bad. Like, you guys are rhyming with Veer and Shanky, bro. Like, it's like, you have more money? Like, that's not a thing, man.
Yeah, I always say that. Once you start going to the money thing, you lost.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
I said that, and Rollins is my guy. I said the same thing with Rollins when he was doing that first stuff. Once you start talking about, well, I got more money than you, you lost.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I guess like publicly, there's no like, I don't know. It's definitely a one direction feud publicly, because I don't know. I don't think this is my theory though. I don't think that Swerve's gonna acknowledge this.
No.
But
nah, I don't see him rap because he doesn't really move like that. So I don't see
Right.
him. I don't see him rapping back. And he makes a lot of his music about not non-wrestling stuff. So why would he start rapping about a wrestler? I don't see that happening. No, I'm serious. I just don't.
yeah,
see
no,
him
I agree. Yeah,
You better be beefing with Max Caster if you're trying to get some raps back. He'll rap back at you.
And I see somebody in the chat said, unless Swerve is headed back to WWE, I could tell you he's not. He's signed to AEW for quite some time, and like he's not joking when he says that he's happy there. Like that's not a patronizing thing. Like he's very happy with the direction he's gotten to take his character and the work he gets to do. That guy is going out there having the time of his life, getting to work Revolver, getting to work Defy. He's got gold draped around his shoulders. He is.
Shout out to my homies in Brain Slam. He seems to be pretty connected to them out in LA. He just had a match with Commander a couple weeks ago at Complex Con. So yeah, he's doing a lot, dude. He's doing a lot.
Fab, what would make you look at what Swerve is doing right now and look at WWE and say he wants to go back there? This guy was just on TV with Rick Ross a few weeks ago. He ain't going back there, bro.
Yeah, and that was when I wasn't sure, by the way, of the lines. I'm like, these sound like a diss at Swerve. And then when I first heard the Top Dollar rap, and then he mentioned the cameos, and I was like, okay, it is. I'm like, that's the one.
Yeah, he was one of the funniest parts of Rampage last night. Sliding into that segment was hilarious.
Yeah. And hey, that was a thing that a lot of people were wondering, given the year that Shane Taylor and Shane Taylor Promotions had last year in the final year of Ring of Honor. There was a big question of how they not been brought back in yet. And they're working the pay-per-view.
Yeah, I think it's great. I was very surprised to see Shane Taylor.
How did that not leak at all? I didn't see it.
Right? Yeah, seriously, that's what I was thinking too.
Yeah, I thought that segment was great. I think them tying it back to Ring of Honor continuity with Keith Lee is smart. It seems like this pay-per-view is really building up because they didn't have a lot of this stuff announced before this weekend. Now this is looking like kind of a stacked card.
It is. They started bringing it out. I'm super happy for Shane Taylor. Like he didn't get immediately brought in with the rest of the ROH guys, but he went out there and did his thing. He was out in Texas having some great runs. He had some championships, and he knew that if he worked hard enough, he'd get back to it. So I think he's going to make a big impression at the pay-per-view. I'm excited to see him versus Keith Lee because they have so much history, and I'm excited to see what kind of shenanigans Swerve gets in over there. And JD Griffey's a big part of all of their, the Keith and Shane, like they all came up in the business together. So this is going to be a big, important match for all of them. It's exciting.
Yeah. I honestly, I think, if Ring of Honor is going to get its whatever show it's getting soon enough, then one of the things that I kind of find myself looking forward to is the fact that it seems like a lot of Ring of Honor continuity is being kind of picked up on from last time. Like it's, I feel like bringing in Shane Taylor Promotions is kind of a good sign of the fact that something is going to be happening soon enough with Ring of Honor being kind of kicked back off and just picking up where they left off. Because also the Kingdom is back in play as well. You know, they're signed, and they're signed for.
What are they doing? We haven't seen them on TV in a minute.
Well, gee, if you didn't notice, this week a certain match was made for the AEW World Tag Team titles in which FTR is going to be facing the Acclaimed. And if I didn't know any better, I would think that
shenanigans.
I would think some shenanigans with the Kingdom, who, when they were last seen, made a declaration that they want the ROH tag titles back. I would bet you between now and next Saturday, it is somehow on the card, FTR facing off with the Kingdom at Final Battle.
Makes sense.
And I see people saying like it's going to be the Aspers. They ain't got shit to do with Ring of Honor. I think that's all happening on. I think it's just going to play out in AEW. But I think FTR versus the Kingdom is my theory on what match they end up doing. And I think that, we'll see what ends up happening. But yeah, the card is coming together. I think it is going to be an entertaining card. I think it all came together like very quickly, but you know, because even Juice Robinson versus Samoa Joe, like Samoa Joe is about to have a week ahead of him where he's got Darby this Wednesday. He also just had AR Fox. That match was very short, but it slapped. And yeah, he's going to be facing Juice Robinson.
Rock hard, Juice Robinson. Coming in hot to face the true king of television. That was a hard line. Like, Joe is just so great when he's back to being arrogant Joe. And when he has reason to be arrogant, him strutting down with both of those belts over his shoulders was just excellent. Yeah. Looking forward to more Joe shenanigans.
Yes.
And I think all of his matches moving forward are going to be this length. So somebody was saying on Twitter, like, well, all of his matches are short. He's he's making a different transition. We're not going to see a 60-minute time limit match from Joe anymore. It's not how he's going to work. He's going to get in there, throw them things. Somebody else going to throw them things, and the match is going to be over, and it's going to be great. I love everything that Samoa Joe's doing right now. Super excited to see him and Juice Robinson. That's going to be a dope match.
Yeah. And Juice Robinson, by the way, he's been signed a minute. So there's been I was asking myself the question of when does he like kind of start to assimilate into things. And, you know, I've even personally seen Juice Robinson and Tony Storm at TV together. They are married, for those who aren't aware.
I wonder, are they going to put Bandito on this card before it kicks off? Because he signed too.
Yeah, I can see that. So we'll see. But at the moment, you know, Juice Robinson and Samoa Joe is the match. And we'll talk a little bit more about the card next week. But yeah, it seems like the show is very much coming together. It's going to be a whole day of wrestling next week because we got the Ring of Honor show in the afternoon, and then immediately after is NXT Deadline. And so pretty much next Saturday, it's going to be, we do a podcast. As soon as you guys are done, we get to watch not Death Before Dishonor, Final Battle, and then Deadline. It's all going to be back to back to back.
Fun.
And my kids have eye exams that day. Where am I going to find time for all this shit?
Come on. Come on, real life. We're trying to watch some wrestling.
Yeah. I don't know if we got totally into that MJF segment, but that was incredible TV. I was sitting back every time I want to hate on this guy because I was definitely sitting there like this guy comes out strutting into Indiana, ducked that smoke from the Chicago crowd, and came out there, and the promo at first was starting slow. I was like, all right, where are you going with this? You're doing a lot of capping, talking about you're better than Brian. I was like, you ain't better than Brian. The devil is a lie. Shout to Ross. Nah, I'm not buying that. But the more this thing went on, I was like, this guy's good. Because I kept picking up on all the subtle things he was doing. I was like, this guy's good, man. All of the subtle jabs at Bryan before he got the stinker in there. Calling the crowd fickle, just like Bryan did. Unveiling the belt, just like Bryan did as Planet's champion. And all of that stuff was great. And then paying off the opening segment from last week, because I was not a big fan of the opening segment from last week. And finding a way to pay that off this week was very good. Cracking Regal on the back of the head, just like Regal told him to do.
That was the most subtle thing to me, was that, when Regal said to MJF, he turned his back to him and told him to hit me, and he didn't. And, Regal got the cockily walk away. That's what I thought. And sure enough, that was exactly how MJF took him out.
I love that Regal saved his one bump in the whole company for this moment. That's what you call fucking build up and pay off right there.
Great stuff. Him using the lines from the email over again. Because that was one of the things from this segment at the beginning. When he read the email, I thought the email was going to be something more like the voicemail that we got it all out, and I was like, okay, the email reveal wasn't that great, but that's because it wasn't the email reveal. It was the real email at the end of getting a stinger of him repeating back to him what he told him. I thought all this segment was great, and I feel like AEW TV for most of this year is just better with Max on it.
It is.
You know what though, Philip? I'm going to disagree with you just slightly. Yeah, I didn't like this segment that much. I like the ending of it, but I felt like, and maybe it was just a timing thing, because the cracking of William Regal took place right at the top of the hour, and I felt like Max was talking in circles for quite some time. It felt like he went out there for a long time and just. There was a moment where I started looking at my watch like, all right, are you going somewhere with any of this? Because you just keep like doing Max stuff. And I started to get a little taken out of the segment. I'm glad the ending brought it back around. I thought that him cracking Regal over the shoulder and, implied he hit him in the skull with the knucks, and reading the email, that was great stuff. But I thought you could have cut this in half and gotten things across. I just felt like it was dragging for a minute, and I just thought, what is he doing? I literally thought he was stalling for the top of the hour, because I think he was probably told, we need them channel flippers to stop on this Regal stuff, so you need to make sure that this happens right at the top of the hour. And of course, as I mentioned, that clock right under the art cam, so luckily when you're cutting them promos, you can see when this needs to happen. Yeah, that's how it felt to me. I was a little worried at first, because I thought that MJF has had some of the best promo material this year. I thought that, the promo in LA at the Forum, that's considered one of the best promos this year, with him basically taking down Tony Khan, the stuff he did with CM Punk. That was actually last year, but even still, in the promo with Regal this year, and him slicing into Regal with the email, I liked all of that stuff. I thought some of what he was doing here, I didn't like the explanation for the firm. I didn't like any of that.
Because it was a lie. I'm just going to go out and say it. It was a lie. I think that he set up the firm stuff, because there was a key line in this that made me feel like it was a lie. From the email, when Regal was saying that he felt like when he saw him get beat up with the firm, that was the thing that convinced him to join him. That's because he set him up.
Okay, yeah, I can see that too. Either way, I just thought, oh man, this is a lot of exposition for a guy who is such a great promo. I actually wasn't feeling this terribly much until he hit Regal. And then I thought, okay, he brought it back around. At least there was a payoff to it, because had this just been... had he just gotten out of the ring, I would have been like, that was an incredible waste of time, and your reign is off to kind of a whack start. And then he brought it around. And I'm glad he brought it around, because I thought that the sell was really good. I thought Regal's selling was excellent. He sold that shit like he was dead. I thought Bryan, looking, wearing one shoe, like, I wasn't even done getting dressed when I saw what happened to Regal. I thought Bryan was great here. I thought commentary. This was Tony Schiavone's like almost career best call of just how despicable he found all of this. Excalibur, in the way that when Regal first came out, Excalibur was selling this like this disgusting human, but then even Excalibur's like, oh shit, I didn't want to see that happen to him. All of that I thought was great stuff. I thought all the surrounding elements. I feel like I would have wanted to see a better opening promo from Maxwell, and I'm hoping that we get that now this week, because we did get another "We Hear from MJF" graphic this week. So
the Max stuff is so smart, because not only, I don't know if you guys remember this, not only did he get Regal to flip on him, he kind of is slowly got Yuta to flip on Bryan as well. Some of the dissension with Yuta and Bryan is because of the stuff with MJF. And so, no, I think the firm stuff is very intentional. I think the other tale is Ethan coming out and doing his promo and complimenting Max. Why would he compliment him if a few weeks ago they beat them up? They beat him up. No, I think that they're still working together, and I think the build to this is Bryan, of course, coming out and thinking he's going to have a one-on-one match, and Firm coming out and jumping him.
I don't like the bidding war of 2024 stuff, and I'm over it. It was maybe cute in the Wardlow feud. That was all the way back in April. And I just feel like
if we're about to have a whole year of this, I can't.
But you're supposed to hate it, and I think it's
I know,
get
but
more
not,
and more annoying.
I don't hate it in like a I hate this wrestler kind of way. Like, and maybe who cares? It's wrestling. I'm supposed to hate it, I guess. But it's just, it's like channel changing hate. It's not, to me, like somebody I want to see get their comeuppance. I want to.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of those things we got to give some months, because I feel like the bidding war thing is going to get more and more intense by the time 2024 is over, because right now it's like, you're not going anywhere. You're great where you are. They're not going to let you do what you're doing here, there. It doesn't feel believable. But I think the further we get into his reign and the more we want people to beat him, the more it's going to work.
I hope so. I don't know.
I think his plan coming back was massive,
like
especially because he had to change it too, and essentially target Blackpool Combat Club instead of Punk. And I think the way that he's changed it and essentially destroyed Blackpool Combat Club from the inside out, I think all of this stuff was masterful.
I think it could turn out good. The segment for me dragged until he turned, and that was my only thing. Let's see. So that, what else happened this week? Did we really talk about everything? Did we hit all the? I mean, we haven't really talked a whole lot about Survivor Series, and I reviewed Survivor Series on Fightful. Me and Denise. We need a name for that team. But either way, me and Denise, we reviewed Survivor Series this week. The review got some good feedback. Denise was a lot harder on War Games than I was, but I get her complaints about it. I do understand the complaint that Survivor Series, specifically the War Games in WWE, is very tame, that it's very produced, that WWE's biggest fault in War Games in the entire time they've been producing it is that it's being produced for the cameras and not for the crowd. And when you go back and watch, War Games 92, I just watched War Games 92. It's still just a crazy, crazy time. And part of what makes that match so good is that the crowd is just screaming their heads off the entire time. Every single thing that happens, they're just going crazy. But a big piece of it is that it's because, we were there for Anarchy in the Arena. And, that crowd never died down for Anarchy in the Arena because everywhere the crowd looked, some shit was going down. And so everybody's just screaming their heads off. And that's kind of the way War Games was initially, was we've got all of this stuff happening around the ring. Everywhere you look, it's chaos. It's war. It's war, right? But the WWE War Games is very stop what you're doing so that we can move to this next spot, and everybody is just on the ground stopping what they're doing, or just kind of casually brawling with each other, but they're all aware that they're on camera, and it's not so much about just kind of a big ass war brawl and cameras just catching whatever they can. It in WWE's War Games is very produced. It's very spot. All these guys lay on the ground for 2 minutes while these next guys do the next thing, and they're gonna stay and sell for the next 2 minutes, and then it's just moving between the match all throughout. And it definitely doesn't feel like war per se. That's not to say it's bad. You have to recognize that that's just how WWE does things. That's how Money in the Bank works. That's how a lot of these things work. They're producing it as a TV show, and as a TV show, they feel that you should be focused on what's happening on camera, and what's happening in the background doesn't matter. So just stop.
I am going to, I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion. I think Survivor Series was probably the second best WWE pay-per-view this year. I think this is the closest we've gotten to a main roster takeover. Not in the sense that the matches are as good, but just the way that the pay-per-view was built. All of the backstage segments led up to the main event, and all of the story stuff in the backstage segments got the payoff in the main event in the same way that a takeover would. The matches even the War Game matches were very takeover-esque. I really enjoyed this pay-per-view. I thought that the Finn AJ match was very good. I thought that triple threat match was incredible. Stop sleeping on Rollins. This guy delivers every time. I thought this was probably one of the best showings we've seen from Theory all year. The only dud on this card was the Shotzi and Ronda match. Other than that, the rest of this pay-per-view was very good. I thought the payoff of the women's War Game match being that what do you call it? That the stare down from SummerSlam led to this. I thought the way that they ended this match, yes, it made Damage Control look like big losers, but it was a great way to pay off Bianca's teaming with Becky and Becky's turn. I thought that was the right way to end the match with the two of them standing strong, and I thought everything we got in the men's War Games match was great story-wise. Yeah, I thought it was a good pay-per-view.
I can agree with that. I thought it was a good pay-per-view. I don't have any beef with the pay-per-view whatsoever. I think that, like I said, my general complaint was more around the again, it's if you grew up with War Games, if you've seen other War Games, if you've seen the way that this match has been done before, WWE just feels really tame, and I'm not one of those
and I'm not
guys. It's everything needs blood, but I do feel like something like War Games definitely needs to have some lingering effects to feel like we are here at war. This is two teams. I feel like WWE had one of the best buildups for a War Games match. I feel like everything felt like this was the time for war, but I just I can agree with what Denise was saying, that it doesn't feel as, I don't know. Are they saying I went Robo?
I didn't like about it is there's no fucking stakes throughout the whole pay-per-view. There's nobody's fighting for anything. It's just we're here. It doesn't matter. There's matches. They put together the War Games teams as just okay, these guys are all here at the same time, but it's nothing. Nobody's fighting for anything. Roman just has his belt. No one's trying to get his belt. In the women's match too, it's just everybody's doing spots, but what's the purpose of any of this? What is any of this leading to? if the team beats Bianca, does somebody get a title match? There's no stakes at all. It's just like a show. It's just like a overproduced extra Raw to me. Like it didn't feel like that's how a lot of their PLEs have felt. It's like it doesn't feel important anymore. It just feels like
you know what?
It's a big show.
I'm gonna say Phil. PLE has grown on me. I will say premium live event.
It's not that bad.
It's not that bad. I know earlier this year I was like, it's
sounds goofy to me.
Corporate jargon, and nope. I'm actually like,
it still sounds goofy
It's
to me.
okay. It's not that bad anymore.
The thing that I will agree with you on is the stakes thing, but I will say that this was an improvement over Brand Warfare and Survivor Series of the past few years, and I think that's why I enjoyed it so much. Is this felt fresh? This felt like something different.
It did.
I feel like this is the most. It felt like something unique to Triple H's regime.
Yeah, this
has
was a
felt
Triple
since he
H
came.
show for sure.
This was definitely
Yeah.
a Triple H production, and I enjoyed that about the show. I think the stake stuff is because what I keep saying is the issue with WWE right now is that you can't build stakes as long as you've told your audience in so many words that we don't want Roman to lose. Right. And so as long as you've done that, you're not going to build contenders for this guy that feel believable. You're not building any real rivalries for him because you're not allowing anybody to feel like they're on equal footing with him.
Right.
And I feel like that's the biggest problem with a lot of the programming right now is that Roman is just kind of like the shadow that looms over everything, and not in a great way. I feel like it was in a great way at one point, but now it just feels like in some ways it's hindering a lot of people's characters.
Right. Like I
but
said, if it's Sami Zayn or Jey Uso doesn't beat you, like who are you setting up for? Because it feels like you're setting those two guys up to be the one that are going to beat you, and they're not going to be the ones to beat you. So I don't really understand this.
I feel like if anything, it's setting Sheamus up to be his challenger at Royal Rumble, but Sheamus ain't going to beat him.
No.
So it is what it is. I think all of the things that Will and Denise are saying about the War Game stuff is right. I'm not disagreeing with any of that. I still enjoyed the show because I have pretty much made up my mind at this point that WWE is what it is. It's going to be overproduced. Everything they do is overproduced. So I feel like you got to accept that coming in now. Like it's not going to be anything that we see at other places. It's not going to be like GCW death matches. It's not going to be, blood and guts. It's going to be their brand of wrestling. And I feel like either you like that or you don't.
I guess the only reason I'm like, it's not that I don't like that. It's more so that you are capitalizing on a name that was built off of one of the like most intense, bloody rivalry matches of all time. Like War Games is, again, if you've never seen War Games 92, it's from Wrestle War 1992. It was Sting Squadron versus Paulie's Dangerous Alliance. And it's a match that, a lot of people consider one of the greatest. Dave Meltzer gave it 5 stars. But part of what delivered about that match was just, again, that Jacksonville crowd is just going nuts the whole time.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things WWE is still missing. I do think that in some ways their product is better, but their crowd is just sleepy time during most of their stuff. Like even watching SmackDown last night, and Santos and Ricochet are giving it up, and that crowd is giving them nothing, man.
Right.
And I feel like that's still the thing AEW has over WWE is that their crowd adds so much to the viewing experience that WWE crowds don't.
I think it's the same Roman thing is like, because when Roman came out at Survivor Series, it was lit. Like the crowd they were ready. They were on fire. But it's just not like that for anybody else.
But that's what made Clash the best pay-per-view of the year as well, because that crowd was amazing. And I feel like we haven't gotten a crowd that good at a U.S. pay-per-view all year.
Right. Oh, no. Is this another Vince was right thing? Ugh. Because, like, Vince for the last year was doing them fake crowd reactions, and it was making the no. Just hold on.
No.
I'm halfway joking when I say this, and by halfway I mean like 80%. But Vince was doing those fake crowd reactions pretty much from the time they went back on the road, so everything felt like it was like almost unnecessarily hot, right? Where they had like Jackson Riker coming out, and the crowd's like, yeah, and you're like, but you can like visibly see them like not moving. And Hunter's one of his first moves out of the gate was like, we're not doing the fake crowd reactions, especially during matches. Like he kind of came back on it and was like, okay, some things were like at Survivor Series, they were using the crowd track for Ronda versus Shotzi. It was like they heard those "We Want Sasha" chants and were like, "Nope, get them fake crowd reactions on."
Get that out of
here. Yeah, you hear the crowd suddenly turn down, and all of a sudden it just sounds like the Thunderdome again. Right. But I guess all I'm saying to say here is that Hunter, I think, is of the mentality of trust the crowd. That if you as a worker aren't getting over with the crowd, that's on you. That's on what we're producing. If it's not winning the crowd reactions, it shouldn't be on us to make that sound happen. Whereas Vince was like, fuck them fans. Like, you're just there for the visual. I will make the sound myself.
Yeah, and that's a very worker's philosophy. And so, Vince's thing is, we'll tell you what to like. It doesn't matter. We tell you what to like. We are the main event here. We don't care what you think.
The crowd still feels like that, I think.
It's dinosaurs. It's the we say so corporations.
Right. And the hard thing for me, though, is that lately the crowds have not been great at WWE shows. And I'm like,
it's a problem.
Is this the product of Vince conditioning people to, it doesn't really matter what you guys react to?
That's what it is.
We put the sounds in there for you. Or is it, like, I'm not sure what the change is, but I know Hunter would rather have the crowd making some noise, but I think he's also of the philosophy of, but you as workers, it's your job to get them there. It's not our job to produce that sound for you.
Because last night's a perfect example. Santos and Ricochet were going ham. They're giving crowds everything that they should be popping for, and the crowd's not popping. So there's something else going on here, you know what I mean?
For it. And I don't want people to get this wrong, because I already saw that in our chat that we are blaming crowd. I'm not blaming the crowd. No. Ultimately, I feel like a part of the reason why the crowd wasn't into that main event is because some of the stuff on SmackDown just wasn't that good. I think if you put a good product in front of crowds will pop. But I do think that the energy around AEW and how they play to their crowd is just so different than what's happening at WWE. And I think that that's something WWE hasn't figured out under Triple H yet. They haven't figured out how to encapsulate that same energy you get out of, say, a Full Sail crowd.
Like, that's what I was going to say. I think Hunter knows the Full Sail crowd really well, and he knows how to pop that crowd. And I think even he knew more so than the Full Sail crowd, I think he knows how to pop the TakeOver crowd in general, because he knew how to get – and the problem is those TakeOver crowds were in these same arenas, right? Yep. So they were big arena crowds. It's not like he was working a room of 300 people like at the Performance Center right now. But, like, these were crowds of thousands, and he knew how to get those pops out of them. I think he's still struggling with, he's like doing the type of content he would have done at NXT, but he's not quite eliciting the reactions he would have gotten at NXT. And I'm curious how he gets that, because that's the only thing I feel like is really, really hurting right now is,
they're not small crowds either. They're putting
they're selling.
That's selling.
That's the thing I'm curious about. On paper, you look at it and you would think between anything, you would look at, here's a good example. SmackDown was in Buffalo. AEW obviously just recently ran Buffalo. This exact same arena that was the night that West Side Gun performed. It's exact same arena, exact same crowd. Now, granted, neither show really sold that well. Both shows, the upper decks were closed, both SmackDown and AEW. But at the same time, you could hear a difference between, again, I don't think it's the exact same people, but just knowing what you're doing for the Buffalo crowd, it's a difference in sound. And I'm curious how you fix that. But we know what else I'm curious about. I don't have a proper transition for that, but what I was going to say... what I was going to say, more so than anything, was last week we did this show. Did you guys have a good Thanksgiving? Of course you did. But you might be feeling a certain way after you put on some Thanksgiving weight, and that is where we've got a word from our sponsor. So by now, you've heard me talk about my weight loss. Working from home, being in the house, it can take its toll on you. and it took its toll on me. I was the heaviest I've ever been in my entire life a few months ago. Look at this. That's me next to the big homie Powerhouse Hobbs way back at All Out just in September. And just being next to that guy for even 5 seconds told me it was time to make a change. And that change can be intimidating. That is where the Fitbod app came in handy for me. Because there's just so much to think about, and it can be costly, and I can already tell that the thought makes you not even want to proceed. Trust me, I spent 2.5 years fearing moving forward. But with the Fitbod app, you can easily create a dynamic routine personalized to your equipment and goals. Guys, I was legitimately 222 pounds in that picture. And check me out now. That was just 5 minutes ago. As of this morning, I was 195.4. Downloading Fitbod keeps you motivated. It keeps you going. It's available on both your smartphone and your smartwatch. And it makes planning your workouts a breeze. Fitbod's algorithm changes and updates your fitness plan as you go. Just add in your equipment, pick a fitness goal, and Fitbod will create a routine for you. Whether you've been missing gym time or hit a plateau, a fresh start has never been easier. The app switches up your exercises to avoid overtraining or burnout, and your program changes based on your personal progress for maximized results. A full year of Fitbod is less than the cost of a single session with a personal trainer. Join Fitbod right now and build a routine that grows with you without slimming down your wallet. Get 25% off your subscription or try the app free at our link in the description below, or just go to fitbod.me/Grapsody. That's fitbod.me/Grapsody. And again, save 25%. Fitbod.me/Grapsody. So, let us do some talking about some of these super chats and humper chats, because we've got plenty and I want to catch up on all of these and make sure I don't miss any. Some of the super chats have cleared, but the humper chats are all here. And so let's take a look at a humper chat or 10. Let's see. We got this one from Uncle Rucky. He says, love the show and the discussion.
Which Uncle Rucky?
Yeah,
Whoa.
I know. Which one? What is that?
He says, I loved the discussion last week regarding Punk and the Elite. I've always wondered, since the Page promo, if there was more to it than just the Cabana issue. Page referenced Punk's behavior. He said, when you think no one is watching, any more to it?
I think most of it is just that he didn't appreciate that he went out there and said that, and he didn't know he was going to say that. And I think a part of what burned him up the further he got away from it is that it didn't leak, especially after he did his promo back and it leaked the next day and people were on his ass immediately when he did it back. And he's just like, wait a minute, this guy did this and you guys didn't have that same energy for him.
You know, the weird thing, though, is that it did. And that at least because what I had heard about at the time was that I had heard about the meeting that took place between Mega, the Young Bucks, Punk, and Hangman that took place after that promo before Double or Nothing. And I knew there was some heated discussion over the promo itself. The only reason that I feel like a lot of that didn't get out there was because I think some of the context was still kind of missing from a lot of that. But it did get out that there was a meeting and that Punk wasn't happy with what took place there. And
right. But I mean, that was still like in small circles. It didn't hit the news cycle that the Punk promo did. Once the Punk thing happened, it was on Meltzer. Then Sean put out the Fightful Select thing. All of those things happened like the next day. It was like
to be
instant.
fair though, but that goes back to what I said about one broke the show and one didn't. Like one was like, okay, the show can keep going and nobody really noticed. Do you feel like that what he said about Hangman that night completely stopped the pace of Dynamite? I don't think it did. I mean, him calling out Hangman and nothing happening? I mean, of course it did. Like that was the thing they had to address on BTE. It was like, whoa,
but
why
I mean,
did that just happen?
I said the night of Dynamite. Like if do you feel like when that happened, everybody was taken out of the moment and was like, oh man, what does this mean? Because I feel like it immediately went to the next thing. I feel like it immediately went to coming out. And
I think it did raise a lot of questions about, like, because I know for the people who thought it was like storyline of like readdressing the Punk and Hangman feud, I know there were people who were like, well, why didn't Hangman answer that?
Right.
I know there were a lot of questions of like they're like, Hangman's a babyface. Why wouldn't he come out when called out? That doesn't make any sense. I do remember like seeing a lot of that across Twitter while it was happening, and so I will say, continuing with the particular question, when he said Paige referenced Punk's behavior when you think no one is watching and things like that, because there was another promo that was very similar to that, and I think that's what Hangman thought he was kind of going for with this promo. Because it's not so much of Hangman going into business for himself as much as my belief is that Hangman saw this very similarly to another promo that was very, very similar to this one. Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston's promos on Punk, very, very similar about being a cutthroat guy behind the scenes, about a guy who claims to be one thing in front of the audience, but then behind the scenes stabs people in the back, says certain things. You know, I think that there was a lot of
he thought he could get that shit too, like Eddie Kingston, pretty much. Yeah.
And I think in a lot of ways it was like with Punk, it was a case of, well, Eddie Kingston ain't shit. He don't run nothing in this company.
Right.
Whatever.
But I also think it was that they very much already knew they didn't like each other. I think it caught him by surprise because he was like, wait, you feel that way? Like, I didn't know that. Where's this coming from?
Mm-hmm.
Like, he expected it when Eddie Kingston says this
because
shit.
they already don't like each other.
They had their beef,
known.
yeah.
I don't think it was a issue with Hangman before that. He felt like, I didn't have an issue with you, so why are you doing that?
Yeah. Either way, because it was a very similar promo, and I feel like, because I've seen people bring that up of like, how come this promo caused all these issues when Kingston's didn't, and Kingston's was almost worse, and they very clearly have like real personal beef, and it's like, but also Kingston's in no position of power in that company, and Kingston's not tied to people with positions of power, and I think that was another thing too, was like.
He's not a member of the elite, you know what I mean? Like, he's
I mean, if I go back to this, and again, let me say this before I say anything, the elite did not leak anything about Punk. But if I go back to this, and Hangman says this stuff about me, and he's looking around like, where is this coming from? Y'all okay with this? And then it doesn't kind of leak and make this big news cycle thing. But then, like I said, when he does it, it leaks. He's looking around like, wait a minute, it feels like y'all are against me. And that's not true, of course, but that I think that's what started the wheels in motion for him of like, what's going on here? Like, why is this way and why is this that way?
For me, I feel like when I really give it some thought, man, is that foot injury so regrettable. Because I think Punk would have moved on very quickly had he not had to sit at home. Like, now, like, all of a sudden, I think back to that stage dive, and I'm like, oh, why? Like, because you were here. Because, like, he didn't bring up none of this stuff at the Double or Nothing press conference. He didn't do none of...
He did it in a very subtle way. But
but it was in a subtle way. You're right. But you recognize the difference between winning the title at Double or Nothing and, you know... Maybe he had a little subtle thing, but, you know, for the most part, high spirits. I'm AEW champion. I got no complaints. Wins the title at All Out. And, you know, I'm old and I'm tired and I work with fucking children. Like, big difference between the two demeanors there. And also, but the stuff with Hangman had already happened at Double or Nothing. And, again, he's very celebratory in LA at the Forum. Like, he was just in good spirits. But when he came back from that foot injury... Pretty much the night he came back, you could just tell there was something different in his demeanor. There's a different everything. Even when, you know, that guy in the crowd chanted Colt Cabana at him and he broke his promo and insulted a fan. And it was like, you can just tell things were getting to him in ways that they didn't get to him before. You could tell he
immediately regretted it when he said that to that fan. But that's why I said I feel like the Colt stuff started to get to him. Because it wasn't just like you were hearing it from certain media guys. It had gotten into the locker room. It had potentially gotten on television. I think that the Colt stuff, he was like, look, I'm sick of this. Like, I don't want anything to do with this. I had nothing to do with that. leave me alone.
Yeah.
Stop mentioning this man's name to me. I don't want to talk about this.
Yeah. And so, like I said, I just feel like had he not had the foot injury and had the title reign he was supposed to have, I feel like none of this would have ever happened. We'd still be talking about CM Punk right now. And
the funny thing too is the media stuff he was doing while he was hurt didn't sound like that either, because he was at Comic-Con, he was doing interviews there. He didn't seem like curmudgeoned or disgruntled then. He was still doing it. I heard stories about the Comic-Con stuff that he wasn't happy about, but he didn't seem like that when he came back. It was still different.
yeah, it was like as soon as he came back, there was this switch that turned on that was like, nah, I have got a bone to pick with some of the executive vice presidents in this company, and y'all are going to hear about it.
I still think one of my favorite things from that night is him attempting to be diplomatic, as close to diplomatic as he was when he's running down the company. And then he's saying, yeah, a bunch of guys from Rashida, and just how me and Will looked at each other like,
Yeah.
what a crazy night.
What a crazy night. Man. Tony P says, a lot of people complained about AEW not hiring women like Tegan and Kai, among others, but with why the women's division has developed in AEW, I think maybe how. You think it was the plan to just keep developing homegrown women before they push them more? I mean, I know with Tegan there was visa issues and like ultimately like not being able to get her into the country. Dakota has talked about the fact that, you know, she's had talks with other companies, and one of those companies was AEW. She said they were basically small talks, but the fact was Hunter called her and was like, nah, don't sign nothing. Don't go nowhere. What are you doing? Let's go. You are back in the company. And I think that, again, it really is a case of, you know, signing the people that you've got some plans for. And because like now we're starting to see stuff kind of unfold with Athena, but there was a plan for Athena from the beginning. She was going to be Jade's opponent. And I think she's still Jade's kind of best opponent. And we also saw and like Saraya is one of those names you like ultimately cannot pass on. Like if you get to have Saraya's comeback story, you have Saraya's comeback story. But we are starting to see the development of talents that have been there a long time. That like Jamie Hayter, she's not a day one talent, but she's pretty close to it. Like she was there very, very early on, unsigned, but she didn't get her All Elite graphic till 2021. But she had matches there in 2019. And then of course which is weird to think about, you know, that first year of Dynamite, but Jamie Hayter was on the first year of Dynamite. You know, she had that match with Britt Baker in Pittsburgh. The Britsburg match was to her, the opponent was Jamie Hayter. There was Jamie Hayter and Emi Sakura versus who was it in that match? I can't even remember now. It was I know that's who tagged, but it was Jamie Hayter, Emi Sakura versus who the hell was it? Because it's going to drive me nuts. Riho and Shanna. I knew it was Riho. I couldn't remember Shanna. Though. But Riho and Shanna. That happened on Dynamite, though. And, like, Jamie Hayter was there very early on. Jamie Hayter was the one that Brandy Rhodes jumped to kickstart the Nightmare Collective. And so, again, she is a day one talent. I consider her pretty close to day one. You know, obviously she couldn't be there during the pandemic, but as soon as they went back on the road, they signed her. Yeah. So she's somebody I do consider like a day one-ish talent. And I do think you're going to see a lot of those day one talents. You know, if they're getting over with the crowd, they are going to see a lot more than... Really, it's just the organic rises. That's pretty much what it comes down to, is that Willow Nightingale is having an organic rise. The fans have attached to her. They were chanting her name. She never lost the fans in Indianapolis this week. And she got a pop, like when her music hit, and it felt kind of good because I'm so used to hearing that music in front of smaller crowds. And so when, this is a crowd of, I think, 3,500 people. When that music hit, I was like, okay. She's like to hear it with a reaction, with a TV reaction, still sounded good.
Another great story too. I want to pull up the tweets of everybody being like, "Why is Willow losing on Dark? Why is Willow doing this? Why is Willow doing this?" It's called storytelling. It's called building. And now look what's happening. You guys have some fucking patience.
that reaction to Athena aged very poorly.
Right.
Yikes. But I think part of the problem is
that's so true.
Yikes.
So poorly.
Yeah, but I think the other thing is there are so many false starts they got with the women's division because of stuff like injuries. Because even if you look at last year, it seemed like they were building Layla for something, and then she got hurt.
Oh yeah, she would have been in the big plans too.
Even if you look at year one and how Kylie Ray was clearly somebody that they wanted to push to the moon, and that just didn't work out. And I just think they've had a lot of stumbling blocks that, their other divisions have not. Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. I think they've just had a few false starts that hurt them. And of course, that's not to make excuses, but it has happened. Even during the pandemic, they had a lot of injuries. I think people forgot how many women were injured during the pandemic, and not just that, how many women that couldn't travel. That was still when B. Priestley was with the company, and that stuff randomly happened. I just think that this is the best situation they've been in with a diverse and, very talented locker room, and I hope that they keep it up.
Yeah. Look, there was a big conversation, and part of the reason that I never wanted to get in on that conversation was because I had black wrestlers telling me don't have that conversation. But, there was the big diversity conversation happening when it came to AEW. And, of course, we had Sean Dean here on the show. Can't believe that was this year. But, when he popped in, shout out to the captain, and he was like, hey, be patient. I'm working. And, he got AR Fox then, right? He got... and it's not just AR Fox. He got a lot of talent booked. Willow, yeah.
Everybody. He got AQA in before AQA took a break. He brought in a lot of people that I don't think people are giving him his flowers like they should.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't know. Also,
yeah. And the thing is, the reason I wasn't willing to have that conversation was because of the fact that I was having black wrestlers tell me it's not true. It's not. It's not a thing. That's not a thing that I feel is happening, and so therefore, and I will say, I was hearing it from black wrestlers in WWE who strictly said that, when I was talking earlier this year, remember when I made the joke. I think it was late last year when I said, "Look, stop treating WWE like it's Wakanda." That's not the case, and that came from a wrestler in WWE who had said look, we had to kick and scratch and claw for this, and even still, there's a long way to go. It's not perfect, and let the talent over there have that same triumph of accomplishing what they're going to accomplish, because they're going to accomplish it. It's like black wrestlers rise wherever where they are, and he's like, but don't try to treat it as again, and we just had Graham on the show, so I'm never knocking anything Public Enemies does, except for posting that Vince Afro image last year, and that to me, Hunter with the kufi, any of that stuff,
Hunter with the Kofi is egregious, bro.
Yeah,
it's egregious. In so many ways, it's egregious.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the main thing for me is, and it's along those same lines, even black wrestlers succeeding in AEW these days, I would not put a kufi on Tony Khan. Are you kidding me? That's not, that's not the way this works, man.
Mm-hmm.
Celebrate the black talent that is succeeding in the way they're succeeding.
And more to your point, celebrate the guy behind this that happens to be black, that's helping a lot of these guys get in there. That's helping a lot of these guys.
The captain, how about that?
Yeah, helping a lot of these guys get booked on Dark. No, give the Cap his flowers, man.
Yeah,
give the Cap.
I'm not. Yeah, don't put afros on Vince McMahon. Don't put kufis on Triple H. And look, because there's nobody I would do that for. There is nobody on earth. I think that is an acceptable way to do things. Like, I would not be like, oh, Black Panther was great, go put a kufi on Kevin Feige. That sounds ridiculous.
Yeah,
like,
that sounds crazy.
That's
I
nuts.
mean, look, memes are funny, but I do think that, of course, Twitter will find a way to miss the
Burn it
context.
down. That's what they'll find a way to do.
Yeah, they'll find a way to miss the context and miss the nuance, and it turns from a joke into people actually believing something. And it's like,
Exactly.
yeah, no, it was a joke.
a good example, the Cody Rhodes meme. How did that turn it? Like, the idea behind that was supposed to be that, like, this white man is so Cody Rhodes that he thinks that he cut this promo that he thought like ended all racial issues, right? And then somehow that turned legit, right? And it turned into like, nah, he is that. And I'm like, do y'all remember Cody Rhodes used to have his secret Twitter that all he talked about was Trump? Like that's Cody Rhodes.
Y'all hated him over a year ago too. That's what
Yeah.
makes it more egregious. Y'all hated
I
him.
know.
Y'all hated him when he was doing the go-go stuff. And then all of a sudden he came there and y'all turned it into this big meme and it's all this the Kang and all the rest of this stuff. Like y'all
Yeah.
hated him. Let's
I
keep
know.
Let's keep it 100. Y'all hated this man.
And look, Cody is allowed to vote forever he wants to, but like, again, that's a real thing that he literally had that secret because he had two, because what it was he had two Twitter accounts. He had the Stardust Twitter account, and then he had his like basically personal Cody account. And on that personal account, he was posting stuff like, yep, just sitting here in my MAGA hat waiting on blah, blah, blah. And like, this was what Cody was talking about. And then he ended up getting full control of the Stardust account. And that's the one he turned into the Cody Rhodes account that he has today. But that original account like stayed up forever. And it was actually Rovert who brought it to everybody's attention. That was, I think it was like in 2020, Rovert had tweeted out like, y'all remember this account, right? And everybody's like, whoa, Cody was saying all of this. And like, Cody immediately took it down, deleted the account. It's gone forever in 2020. And
that's not, look, I like Cody Rhodes a lot as a performer, but I do think there was a lot of capping going around when Cody went to WWE. It was a lot of capping.
yeah, and that's why I was like, you guys recognized what the joke was originally supposed to be around the Agogo stuff. But somehow it actually turned into what it's not. And
Well, I know part of what started it, and that story going around of him actually helping some black wrestlers, is particularly black women, is true. And so I don't want to say that he doesn't do great things for people.
Yeah, and he
does.
He does, absolutely. And that's why I'm saying Cody's allowed to vote for whoever he wants, right? Like, but I need people to know that, like,
Putting the kufi on him ain't it. That's it.
yeah.
Yeah, it was never it.
Great guy, though. I love Cody Rhodes. He's amazing.
Yeah, no, that's the thing is Cody is, I think, in his heart, I think Cody is a genuinely good person, like straight up. And I think anybody who's worked with Cody, who's encountered Cody, great guy. And everybody I know who he brought into AEW all feels the same way. They're like, look, Cody put me on, and Cody was always a great resource. That Cody had ideas. Cody was a big help with promos. Britt Baker's talked about the fact that she wouldn't be the promo person she is without two people, Chris Jericho and Cody Rhodes. And so like that's not, none of this is a knock at Cody. More of it is just, this is a white man from the South. Like, come on, this is
Yes.
like just know who you're dealing with when we're talking about Cody
But
Rhodes.
see, I think that's the thing. I don't think a lot of wrestling fans know who they're dealing with, and that has sparked me saying many times, you don't know these people.
You don't know these people. That's it. More than
Know these
anything
people,
else.
man.
So,
Put a kufi
let's-
on Dusty if you're going to put it on any Rhodes, brother. All right.
Please don't.
Dusty, the only one
Please
that
don't.
deserve one.
Please
He's
don't.
really out here pimping Big Dust. Daddy's of all daddies, son of a plumber.
Derek says, I hate the bidding war thing too, because why would people want to see or listen to someone who keeps telling you he doesn't want to be there?
Right.
Mox said it in his promo during the feud, just leave.
Well, that's the point. He wants you to boo him because he's making a point. I don't want to be here. I don't need your support. Boo me. That's why.
Big Rob says, why doesn't Will have dreads yet?
That's a great question,
I'm not going to. The reason I don't have dreads is because here sitting at age 35, Will Washington has some thin spots. And the thing that is going to expose that more than anything is me dreading the hair. So
That's fair.
Necessarily. You just gotta. It's workarounds.
I know. So the thing is, like, and where it comes from, it's not even about the being 35 more
Saw
than
what
anything.
Jimmy Butler did. Get you some extensions. It's all good.
Like, so I had braids through high school and middle school and elementary school. I was off and on. I would shave my head and then grow my hair back. I grew out braids a few times, but I noticed where the parts were in my braids are where my spots are the thinnest. And so, and it's been that way since I was in high school. It was like the first time I noticed
cornrows would be tight, boy.
Yes, they were.
They the feeling, boy. I know the feeling.
Yes. And so I definitely pulled a lot of my hair out at the time. And so at this point, I'm just in this mode of sport anything that's going to hide it more than anything else.
Not me. As soon as I start getting the bald spots, right to the Beijing, baby. Put that on. Put me up. Lather me up with that black shit.
You getting lathered up like DJ Drama does? DJ Drama's beard is wild egregious, bro. Like
like the Fat Joe beard. Yeah, no. Put the Beijing on right now. We put it on. Actually, if I lose my hair, I'm gonna get a fake wig that's just dreads. No one's ever gonna know. I'm gonna have dreads.
Oh yeah, no. See, you don't even know right now the cap that Reg got on.
This could be right now. You don't even know. The mystery's gonna be forever. As soon as the podcast's over, I'll pull this shit off and throw it right next to my bed. Go to bed with the baldy. I don't got time for these dreads. I'll be looking like Stone Cold Steve Austin when I go to bed.
Hilarious, man.
It's so good. So yes, that's the true answer, Rob, is that I I started
great answer.
I actually
right there, honestly.
Like I was considering it actually. Not even the dreads. I was considering braiding my hair again when I first started growing it back in like 2019, and I had grown the fro all over, and then I was just like kind of playing with it, and I'm like, I'm gonna pull it out even more. And I'm 35. I'm at a point where it like really won't grow back, and so that was when I shaved the sides in 2020, and now I've just been sporting the sponge look. I've been holding on. It's funny. I fidget with the sponge throughout the show. People are like, "Oh, you just pull a sponge out of nowhere." I've literally been fidgeting with it this entire time, and like, that's what I do.
Yeah. Shout out to
we black. They're always on deck. Never in reaching distance.
It's in reaching distance. It's in distance, and
whoever made up the sponge, man, they was cooking.
Yeah, no, it's.
Because they took over the black community, man.
They absolutely did. They changed the game. Man. I mean, I've always been curious. Did somebody just like grab a sponge and we're just like,
what happened here?
Let me just like, oh shit, it works. No, this is dope. And then you go tell your friend like, hold on, just grab a sponge and just clockwise. Yeah. Do it clockwise and.
Yeah, I assume it started with people doing what is called the towel rub method. Some people do their dreads that way, so that's where it came from.
You're right.
Yeah, no, because I know my brother had dreads like by 2010 when he finally cut them off, they were down to the middle of his back, and I remember that started out of boredom, where we were watching Raw one day. It was 2003. We were watching Raw. I remember Goldberg was on Raw and was the world heavyweight champion. We're sitting around, and he was waiting on a friend to pick him up, and he had like the little. A little puff like Ice Cube had back in 2003. And remember, he just started playing with and twisting. And by the time his friend finally showed up, he had twisted his whole head. And he was like, I think I'm going to just keep it this way and see what happens. But that was in 2003. By 2010, like I said, his shit was all the way down the middle of his back.
Yeah. How long have you been growing yours, Phil? My last haircut was 18, so mine's have been since 18.
So I've had dreads going on 5 years because 2018 I got them twisted. I've been growing my hair on and off since I don't know, about 6-7 years. I went through a phase when I was still working in corporate, and it was just like I went through the Office Space mode where I was just basically doing anything to piss people off and go, fire me.
Right, yeah.
You're not gonna fire me. And so one day I came into work and I was not cutting my hair. This was partially because I was going through a funk, and somebody at work was like, and this person happened to be white, was like, man, why are you not cutting your hair? Like, I feel like your hair looks better when it's clean cut. And I was like, I got something for you.
Mm-hmm.
You should have never said nothing, buddy.
I'm saying that's the perfect origin villain story right there.
I mean, like, honestly,
yeah, right.
Because like mine, like when I stopped sporting the waves, it was really just, I think I have told this story, but WrestleMania 35 weekend, I lost my favorite do-rag in New York.
Oh, that's right.
And so I was like, do I want to like try to replace this, or am I just done with the waves?
Yeah,
And
I feel like it was COVID for a lot of people too, though.
Right.
A lot of people weren't getting haircuts in COVID, and
Exactly.
that was just it. Like,
Because
we're at the
hella
point
rappers have dreads now, and it's like, it's because y'all.
Fam, we're at the point where Nas has dreads. Like,
That's what I'm
weird.
saying. Right.
Yeah.
Conway, Westside, and like all the Griselda members have hair and shit. It's like, no, niggas just don't want to go to the barbershop. That's all that is.
They
Like,
got comfortable during COVID, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Nah, I got to keep my barber in business. He owns his own. He owns his own spot. So
That's why I started growing them, because I didn't want to go to the barbershop anymore. Honestly,
I've been going to the same one guy for over a decade, and he owns his shop. And
like, if you leave, it's so hard to find. Like, I was living in San Jose, I can't find a good barber.
Yeah, once you lose a good barber, man, it's traumatic, man.
Right.
Traumatic experience.
Oh yeah, no, that was the hardest thing for me was, so I had a barber I liked, and when I lived in Colorado the first time, and then I moved to Michigan, and I ended up having to drive to Flint, and I lived like 30 minutes away from Flint when I finally found a barber I liked. I've told the story on the show of the day I let a white person in Michigan cut my hair, and it fucked me up. But anyway,
absolutely do not go to Supercuts to get a haircut. That's
nobody.
Please
Don't
do
you
not.
do it.
look, yeah. Would never do it again.
Don't you
never,
do it.
Never. But anyway, so I found a barber I liked. It was in the sketchiest part of Flint imaginable, which, like, think about Flint and think about even having to be sketchy in Flint. Like, they had to buzz. Like, you get there, they had to buzz you in. You can't just walk in. They had metal doors. Like, everything was.
Which means they've been ambushed before.
But you know what?
Yeah.
Dope haircut. And then when I moved,
of course, it's just like a food spot. If it's like the shadier it is, like, it's about to be bomb in here. Like, if my life is on the line while I'm getting it, it's about to be lit.
That's Harold's is a Chicago staple for chicken. If it's too clean in Harold's, I don't want it. It ain't good. I'm sorry. If the glass is not bulletproof and if it's not dirty in there, I want it. It's not good Harold's, bro. That's the bad Harold's. Like those Harold's in the suburbs, I'm good.
They don't want it.
Nah, give me a Harold's on the west side or the south side. Nah,
it's like Waffle House, huh? The crazier it is in there, the bomber the food's gonna be. Gotcha.
The funny thing is, when I moved back to Colorado, though, I went back to my old barber shop and I was like, okay. My barber's name was Will too, so I was like, all right, where's Will at? And they're like, oh, he moved to Vegas. And I was like, oh, are you fucking kidding me? Like, he's gone. And so I spent a little bit of time on the hunt for a new barber till I found Jelani, who's been cutting me for the last 10 years. And I will never abandon Jelani. Jelani's even when he opened his own shop, because I was going to him at his shop, or at the shop he was just working at. And he texted me, and I went, am I driving out of my way to go to his shop? He texted me, WrestleMania weekend, everything's got tied back to wrestling, right? Mm-hmm. He sent me a text. I was on my way to WrestleMania 33 in Orlando, and he sent me a text that said, he was like, yeah, I'm leaving his and hers. I'm opening my own shop. It's over at this location. I would appreciate it if, you came with. But if not, I fully understand. And I was like,
poaching clients.
And I thought, yeah, I am going to come with. I'm like, you know what? I don't need to stay with that shop.
He's like, all this I've done for you, I know that if you like, that was just a haircut.
That is also a classic episode of Atlanta.
Oh, one of the best.
One of the best episodes of Atlanta.
I love that because I've known that guy before. Like everything he was doing,
all
I'm like,
know
I've
somebody
seen
like
this.
that.
This is crazy. How did this happen? Love it.
Let's see. D-Lo says, hey, just playing catch up here. Phil, I want your opinion on the fan trade proposal they have with trading Russ for DeRozan and Vucevic. I say shit is dumb. Also, I feel we need a Rikishi call with the Bloodline story.
Yeah, that trade is horrible. And if the Bulls make that trade, I will formally walk all the way up to United Center and protest every day. That is a horrible trade. And no, you guys cannot have DeRozan. You guys made a point of not wanting DeRozan. You wanted Russ, so no, keep Russ. Russ is playing good now. Don't try and throw Russ off on us now because you're not getting what you want. No, stop it.
What the Bulls do not benefit from this.
No, this is a horrible trade for us. Like, no.
And yeah, Rikishi needs to get something eventually. He has to be a part of this before it all goes to where it is, for sure.
A great fantasy booking idea. If we are doing a Rock thing and you're not doing a Royal Rumble thing, I think it would be great if in the middle of them just beating down Sammy, all of a sudden Solo turns around and starts stopping them and starts fighting back, and Rikishi comes out and he's like, I don't listen to Roman, I listen to the ancestors. Rikishi comes down and he's like, yeah, he's standing with me. And he's like, why would you do this? And he goes, I did it for the Rock. No.
Yes. I'm all the way in.
That's
the
so
way
good.
in. I did it for the Rock, and when the Rock's music hit, I'm all in. I'm book it. I'm in.
I did it for the Rock. That is such a great payoff. Like, honestly, if we can bring that line back in this feud, I'm all in. Especially considering that line is iconic, right?
Yes.
Like that big reveal of Rikishi 2000. I did it for The Rock. And I don't think people realize, and a big piece of it is because at the time we were doing 2 shows a week. We had Raw and we had SmackDown, and they were both canonically tied to each other. So basically, you got what feels today like a month worth of shows in 2 weeks.
Right.
But like, man, they abandoned ship on that Rikishi shit so fast.
So fast.
It was like 2 weeks later, they were like, actually, Rikishi was working for somebody. And then when they revealed it was Hunter, and like, logically, it was still Rikishi. Like,
right.
But Austin was so like, all right, I've moved on to Hunter. I don't give a fuck about Rikishi no more. He moved on so fast to basically feuding with Hunter. And the Hunter stuff made very little sense in the sense that, one, he was like obvious. That would have been the most obvious result. They already interrogated Hunter. They already went through DX. They already
They said it was a blonde guy driving. Like everything pointed to.
Yo, they had one man dye his hair just to make it work.
Yeah,
Man.
like they had moved on so much from like, because Hunter was like in the process of turning face when they realized the Rikishi shit wasn't working. And so but it turned Hunter into the Hunter we know today.
Right.
Because at the time, Hunter's character wasn't necessarily known as a pathological liar. But like in the story, they had already interrogated Hunter. They had already gone through all of that. We had already determined it wasn't Hunter. And so when the Rikishi stuff like kind of wasn't clicking, and they're like, well, let's just make a Triple H. And they're like, well, it helps because, hey, but they're like, how do we explain that we already went through that with him? Easy. He's just a pathological liar. He just,
he just kept lying. He started lying. He joined Austin and started lying. He was just like, his whole thing was lying.
Yeah, his whole thing was lying. But that's where it started, was the Rikishi angle not clicking and them having to backtrack to a guy that we already determined didn't do it. And so, like, Hunter's just a pathological liar. That's how this all worked out. But there was no like long-term planning with that back when they initially had Austin interrogate Hunter. Hunter was supposed to be turning babyface. They were already prepared for all of that. The DX stuff was supposed to be longer term. That ended up.
Good thing it didn't work out. The Hill thing was way better. Like we don't.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Him.
It was.
Yeah. It was way better. You know, Triple H tagging with Road Dogg and Road Dogg talking about it's me, mobbing once again with that G to the A to the M to the E. And I'm like, this is lame. Like I don't need Road Dogg and Triple H tagging. They even did the what's it called? Road Dogg's like with the shake, rattle, and roll punches, and they had Hunter doing it.
Nah.
In hindsight.
Absolutely
Disgusting.
Not. Yeah. Absolutely not.
In hindsight, no. Could you imagine if like
right.
that's just the path Hunter ended up going down
God.
that year? Either way, a couple more. Let's see. Shotkid 29 also sent a. Let's see. Where were we? So he sent the first one.
Damn, I kind of
the Rikishi one.
thing to happen now.
The Rikishi thing is a bomb idea. I love that.
We got two from Shotkid. He says, after seeing Shane Taylor, anyone else think he was the one holding the camera for Swerve when he broke Billy Gunn's fingers? I can see Swerve teaming with the ghosts of Keith's past to go after him. That would actually be kind of a dope.
Very interesting. Yeah, I didn't think about that.
That would be kind of dope. I don't know if that's the plan, but
Yeah, I don't know if that's
cool.
the plan, but the Ghost of Keith's Past is that's pretty good.
Yeah, that would be a cool story actually. And then he also says, with WWE crowds, I think it just reflects 20 years of conditioning. Vince effectively told his viewers the in-ring doesn't matter, and neither do 75% of the stories. Right.
Yeah.
But then, like I said, he then spent the last year basically just telling the crowds, like, actually, I'll determine the reactions
They're
for you.
still doing that, right? Because the SmackDown audio was awful last night. Like something is going. It sound like.
I think Hunter is more willing to see what a crowd's doing first, and then it's like,
And then go
okay,
for it.
yeah. Which, like I said, I've never seen it, but it's been described to me as a bit of like an NPC kind of situation where you literally just
Somebody
got
back
like,
there on the beats. He just like.
yeah, but like all the sounds that are in it is like pop and
Right.
and then like boo. No, my favorite one, and it's really obvious that it's happening, is they've got 1, 2, and 3 from a crowd, so you could do it 1, 2. Yeah, so it's like 1, 2,
It's like a
3,
video
and
game.
yeah, you got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Oh, and this is awesome.
Yo,
You deserve it. Like, oh my God, they're manufacturing everything.
yo.
No, but like literally, but that's the thing is, when you have that, you have to have somebody dedicated to that, whose entire full-time job is to sit
that.
there and just, which is what Vince had. To just have somebody whose job is to sit there with their hands at the right spot. You got to hit cheer, boo, all of that shit. 1, 2, 3. I wonder
do
if
you
they
think that person knows, or they're giving them directions? They're like, all right, say cheer now, or do this, or like he probably has the instincts.
I think you probably have to have just the instinct for it at that point, because you're doing it live on the go, and that's like an expensive process. Because I saw somebody try to say, well, you know, maybe AEW is doing that. That's why their crowds are so live. Like, no, that's an expensive thing to have. That's not just a thing that every wrestling company can do. You have to be a multi-billion-dollar corporation that has the ability to keep somebody on staff who can do that for you.
Right.
Speaking of like the Punk stuff and Take Me Back, man, that video they released when they had the guy in the booth like queuing up the cameras on that was so great.
Oh, the Tim Walbert.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great stuff. He's actually the full-time director for AEW now. He used to be the director of SmackDown back in the day. He was with WWE from like the 90s, and Tim Walbert became he was working under Keith Mitchell before Keith Mitchell retired last year. And now Tim Walbert is and you can tell Tim Walbert, he knows the Kevin Dunn tricks of the trade. Like AEW just recently started doing title match graphics, that when a title match is coming up, they now have the graphic appear. They always have the referee raise the belt, then you cut to a wide shot and the title belt graphic appears on screen. That is a Kevin Dunn master trick. He came up with that years ago, right? But all of a sudden, AEW does the exact same thing in the exact same fashion. But that's because Tim Walbert, he was Kevin Dunn's understudy for many years, but he directed, he was at WrestleMania 9, I think he was. So Tim Walbert he's been in wrestling a long time. So it's not like AEW, when they lost Keith Mitchell, who was WCW's director, went with somebody inexperienced. He's along those same lines. He's definitely just as experienced. And yeah, that video that you saw who was directing the Punk stuff, that was Tim Walbert. He's very, very good. He's longtime pro. This one is funny. Van Twinblade says, "So I'm white. Y'all know this. But after Great Clips fucked up my undercut, I only trust salons with my hair. They took a chunk out of my side, and it took 6 months to grow back. My babysitter from when I was a kid is the only person I trust." Look, when it comes to any haircuts, just get somebody you trust. Like, right. I do not recommend anybody just go with somebody off the street.
Yeah.
Anything that says clips in the name, don't. That's it. That's the
yeah.
with them. Great clips, sports clips.
Jason Major said, production in AEW got WWF and TNA. Nice. Yeah, well, they do have TNA as well because, what's his name? The guy who did all the music in TNA. Dale Oliver.
Dale Oliver. Yeah.
Yeah, Dale Oliver. He does the music in AEW now. Not produces the music, but he is in the truck. He does the.
Oh, he cues the music.
Yeah, he cues the music and stuff. Dale Oliver's been in AEW. He's been there for a while. Since this past. I know he was there as far back as, I don't know, May or something, because I had to send when I sent the updated version of Swerve's theme music. That's who I had to send it to. So I definitely know that Dale Oliver's been in AEW for a while. So that's one that maybe. And the thing is, Dale Oliver's son used to do all that stuff in AEW. He was actually the first one doing it, and then they got Dale on board, and. So
really, where all the TNA guys are in WWE, they got Jeremy Borash, Abyss, Eric Young.
Yeah, and now they got Eric Young back.
Yeah, they got.
I mean,
intensive locker room of them.
I'll say this as we wrap this show: this is an exciting journey we're about to be on for 2023 because I think, honest to goodness, I believe that we're about to see kind of the next generation of. Wrestling heads across the board. I know that obviously Hunter took over and he kept Kevin Dunn and he kept Bruce Pritchard. Something tells me in 2023, if I were to make a prediction, they don't stay. I think that so. As he's getting a lot of his guys in, that Jeremy Borash has a bigger position now. Abyss has a bigger role.
Gabe.
Regal's
coming back. Yeah.
Regal's coming back. I think the more Hunter's regime becomes the regime, I think we're going to see less of Vince's guys.
Thankfully for us, because we can be done with Kevin Dunn forever. Done with Dunn.
Yeah.
You don't want Kevin Dunn on the beats anymore?
No, off the NPC, bro. Step up, step back. Step back.
All right, guys. That's been this edition of this Saturday's Grapsody. Come back to us next week. We'll be here right before Ring of Honor goes on.
Come back. Shout out to Debo and Ice Cube.
Yes. Deontay says, on 20 hours of overtime, just wanted to show love. Always good to hear Grapsody fam. Santa, what I want for Christmas is MJF food to fall on the ground. I know Deontay is not into MJF. Thank you to everybody who tuned in this week. We'll be back next week right before Final Battle. And yeah, we got an interview coming up this week also. We talked about Danny Limelight. So don't forget.
Interview coming up.
Yeah, we got a few interviews coming up.
Really
People mentioned on this show.
Gonna be so cool.
Who's it going to be?
I don't know,
full
man.
circle moment we're experiencing here.
Man. Working, man. Working.
Yes.
Boys
and
are diligently working behind the scenes to make this podcast better and continue to go upward after a great year.
Yeah. So check that out. And then don't forget, if you are a Fightful Select subscriber, pay attention and get those votes in because I am ready to present these Fightful year-end awards, and I'm curious who you guys all vote for wrestler and match of the year. And there's a lot of good categories in here, so check that out. No negatives. I'm done doing negative awards, by the way. I ain't giving out worse anymore. I'm done with that.
Not giving out Razzies?
Nah, I did all that for 17 years, and I never feel good doing it. So I'm done with that. If anybody was hoping for that out of me this year, it's not happening. Other than that, folks, we'll see you next time. Have a great day. Peace.